No, I didn't move it, but I mean it was. Yeah, I couldn't lower it at all.
All right, blank screen still. Still a blank screen.
It hasn't been working for.
Well, he has to let us know if
As soon
we're
as he
on.
lets us know, we'll. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Usually he comes out and says.
David.
Okay, we're on.
Oh, we're on.
All right,
Okay.
so I would ask everybody to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Today is March 11th. Nice warm day out there to melt some of that snow. There was a public hearing scheduled for 7 o'clock that's been canceled. Next thing on the agenda, what I'd like to do is bring up the contingent about the fence. So let's do that first and let's get that out of the way.
No,
Okay?
they can just.
So who's representing Pond Street? Okay.
We'll get Joe in on the.
All right. What it would be good if you could state your name and your address so that we have it for the record.
David Lindsay.
Have a seat, please.
Yeah, come on up.
57 Pond Street.
Great.
Okay.
Mr. Hutsey?
Yeah, that's it. But you got a big group behind you, so
Oh, yeah.
we're outnumbered.
Yeah. You'll notice they're behind me, they're not in front of me. Well, thanks, Joe.
All right. Name, sir?
Joe Corcoran, 51 Pond Street.
Thank you. All right, so we have a fence, and I guess you have a slideshow for us to take a look at, and some pictures.
It's a brief slideshow, and,
Okay.
picture tells 1,000 words, so.
Okay. All right.
You can start the slideshow.
Yeah.
You want to just hit start? Sorry,
No, that's okay.
You have to hit start and leave.
Okay. Oh,
Play.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I think it's a touch. There you go.
You got the lights and all, is it?
Up.
No.
Is it touch? Is it a touchpad? There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
okay to lower the lights?
Sure.
Yeah, if you lower
Any
the one
popcorn?
back there.
This is, that's a view down Pond Street, looking north, before the project. That's the same thing, looking south before the project. Looking north. Then we got this. Then that. And now we have this. We're leaning toward the latter on that one. That's it.
Okay, great.
I guess.
So, want me to say
Yeah, I'll start. I guess, real quick, Linda Corcoran prepared a little, like a synopsis of what the concerns are, and, you can see it by the pictures pretty well. Just starting with the aesthetics of it, you can see in those first couple of shots what it used to look like during the day. And, when you see that picture, I think you'd agree, it's jarring to see that, what was there and what's there now. So it's the aesthetics, and then a lot of other things have happened too. We've seen that it hurts wildlife. I've seen animals suffer in the fence. I've seen a possum and muskrats. Right?
Yeah, several muskrats.
Sure, yeah, exactly. They try to crawl through the fence. They get stuck in the rungs of the fence and die. We see. Flocks of groups of baby ducks and geese. They get stuck between the fences, and they scramble around, trying to find a way out, and they can't. The fence, we're not quite sure why it's there, but as far as it looks like it's for safety, but there's no safety factor of that fence at all. It's not designed to prevent a car from going into the pond. If you go to Google a car crash in a chain link fence, you'll find 1,000 incidents of cars. It always says the same thing, through the chain link fence, and people, as it says here, have been hurt or killed by plunging and pipes and blunt force trauma and stuff. I don't know. What do you have, John?
Yeah, I think my view is too. I grew up on Pond Street, and the people in that area used to be able to use the pond, which you really can't do anymore. You really can't even get near the pond right there. The houses from Mill Street up towards the center of town before the flume there, they used to have, a couple of them had wharfs out on the pond, actually. Now, maybe they have no interest in doing that anymore today, and whatever, I don't know, but the fence blocks anybody from getting there. And it's being overgrown with a lot of brush and different things. You really don't have a view of the pond. If you were trying to walk down Pond Street and walk against traffic like you're supposed to do, you would be really in a bad way, because there's nowhere to go. There's absolutely nowhere to go. So you wind up walking on the other side and looking behind you all the time and trying to get off there. So if there was just a regular guardrail like there used to be, it would be a lot safer, and it would look a lot better, and animals wouldn't get caught in it, basically. And ducks with their ducklings wouldn't get caught in between the fence, going back and forth on the road, looking for a way to get to the pond, which happens every year. And again, we've seen muskrats caught in there. David saw a possum. We've seen turtles flatten on the road because they can't get through the fence. And they'll come up from the brook side, and you can get around it on one end or the other end on the brook side, but then there is nowhere you can go. And we constantly see turtles flattened in the road. And I think it is a safety hazard too, especially the way people would hit it. You wouldn't, if you went off the road toward the pond, you're probably going to go along the fence and hit the fence, and one of those pipes is going to come through somebody's windshield if that happens, I would suspect. Either way, it's not a guardrail, so it's not going to stop anything from going into the pond anyway. It had a guardrail for years, and it was fine. And as you drive around the county, this section of the county, you'll see countless ponds with guardrails along them, nothing with a chain link fence like this.
Does anybody know how it got there in the first place? The people that have been here, that have lived there, what was why would be the question.
When they moved the dam over, that was part of the proposal to make improvements to it, which we argued at the time, why wouldn't we go back to the guardrail?
I can't remember, Jack.
And they assured us that the damage that was caused by the plows and that sort of thing was going to be fixed on a regular basis. And it just doesn't get fixed.
When you say they, you're referring to highway surveyor back then?
The highway surveyor, I believe, was the one that noted in on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it hasn't been maintained like they said it was going to be.
Okay.
So not only is it, an eyesore to look at, it's an eyesore because it's damaged as well.
Right. Well, again, being newer in town, and I'm here 6 years now, my question, well, 6 years anyway,
And the
6
dam was
wonderful
a great
years.
project, they did a great improvement to it, but
Right.
that was, you know, they went backwards as far as aesthetics go.
Right, okay.
This was done,
Yeah, let me, there's a lot of people with their hands up, so let me go one person at a time. I'm gonna go to Mike, and then we'll come back to,
I met with a group of the Pond Street residents a couple weeks ago. We talked about, and that was my first question, why?
Yeah.
And I was able to review the historical record. Peter gave me a 2-inch thick folder with newspaper clippings of the day and meeting minutes, and it seems the initial reason was for what that gentleman just said, safety. When they rebuilt the sluiceway and added a fish ladder, they wanted to keep people away from there. Why they needed 700 feet of fence, it seems like it's a little overkill to keep them away from that. But that was the primary reason. Then they stated a bunch of other reasons, one being to protect the pond from erosion, because they rebuilt and it was the people that were going on the bank and causing the erosion. The fishermen were bespoiling the place with tons of litter, and it's also been said that the prevailing winds and do dump a lot of litter there too, so it wasn't just those, and safety, keeping the kids out of there. Why they chose a tall fence, simply because it was the cheapest way to get around it. If they put a small fence, it was said by the highway surveyor, everybody wanted to know, why couldn't you have a guardrail? And he said, because we'd still have to put a fence on top of the guardrail to keep the cars out of the pond. To their credit, there was a picture of a car caught by the tall fence from going into the pond, and they said, see, I told you so. If it was a guardrail, it would have been in the pond.
right.
So it does hold back cars to a certain extent.
Depending on how quickly.
But those were the basic reasons. But number one, from my estimation, was cost.
Okay. Peter, just 1 second. Peter, you want to weigh in on this? I mean, if,
The gentleman was right in the front. He said that the fence is not for safety, for the stock cars to go into the road, to the pond, and that's correct.
right.
A guardrail would help if a guardrail is needed.
Okay.
And a guardrail for that length of, that stretch of road would be roughly $14,250.
roughly.
If we install it ourselves, and that was done by the highway department?
The guardrail?
Yeah.
If
Would you guys-
if I got a price today on how much it would cost to install a guardrail.
Okay. So can we do it in-house and save a little money, or is that outsourced? No. Okay. All right.
I went to the original COMCOM meetings on the discussion for the dam, the new dam. The only thing that was ever discussed at a public meeting was a 10-foot fence around the flume itself, because it's dangerous, the Russian water, the whole 9 yards. Nothing was ever discussed about the height of the fence for the rest of the road. And then all of a sudden, a truck pulls in and starts putting in these poles. And I said, what are you doing? They said, putting up pole fence. And I said, aren't they kind of high? And he says, well, we need that for the fence. I said, what fence?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, nobody on the road knew about the height of the fence. It looks terrible. And the lower fence, I've been there for almost 49 years. The kids are gonna climb a fence. If they can't climb over it, they're gonna come around it. People that wanna fish are going to come around it. You're not gonna stop them, no matter what you have there. But I have seen people have to hug the fence to get out of the way of traffic, or push their kids into the fence because of the traffic, and it's really dangerous.
How much does it fall off behind a fence? Does it fall off? Because in that case, if they do, they're gonna, is it pretty flat and then falls off, or is it?
No, it's not very,
Through 3 feet, 4 feet, of elevation down to the pond. It's not very far.
All right, so it's not that far,
The
okay.
other thing is the poor turtles, there's so many getting killed out there. I mean, my husband and I will try to push them down till we can get to an opening where we can get them down back
Right.
into the water before they get run over. The big trucks just don't stop. They just go right over these big turtles, kill them, that's it. And this is something, these turtles have migrated for centuries, and all of a sudden, they can't. And I've seen baby beavers stuck there, and they die a terrible death. I just don't understand the reasoning. There was always a space between the fence and the ground
Okay,
for the critters.
right, to get through.
They're going to, the ducks have been killed left and right. A truck went down fast, got one, the duck flew right into his grill, into the radiator. It's just not good.
Right, okay. George, I want George to weigh in, resident
George
water
Christie,
expert.
Old
Yes.
Jacobs Road. I was told years ago that the needed to be a fence because of the steep cliffs and rushing water. Now, I'm with the Park River Clean Water Association. I would love to see rushing water at the Park River. My thoughts go to the Colorado River with rushing through Arizona, and you don't see fences around the Grand Canyon. So I'd also like to point out that the Park River crosses Route 133 in Boxford. There's no fence. It crosses Route 97. There's no fence. It crosses Thurlow Street. It crosses Mill Street. It crosses in Byfield. There are no fences protecting the fish ladders. So it's kind of a deterrent, because we used to hold our fish count, by the ladder. And Marine Fisheries would like to come in and do a lot of repairs to all the fish ladders on the Parker River. And, we'd have to get the key every time they want to go up to see, to check the ladder or adjust the height. So, I don't see a lot of vandalism going wrong, around the sluice way or the fish ladders. It would help in our efforts to do scientific research around this.
So I would open it up to this board for questions. Gentlemen?
Yeah, Peter, I have a question for you. Assuming that you were going in today to rebuild that to the specs that are there today, what's code?
I was talking to an engineer today, and they said that the fence doesn't hold back cars from going into the pondway. And they say you need like a small shoulder, whether it's 2 or 3 feet off the edge of the road before it slopes down, and the slope can be a 3-to-1 slope without having a guardrail along that area. So there is guardrail there on the corner, right across from Mill Street, and there's a guardrail by the fish ladders. So if you took down the ladders by the fish ladders, there still would be guardrail there protecting the flume.
Okay. Anybody else? Gary?
Do any of you know, do any of the residents on the other side maintain frontage on that side? I ask it because
on the pond side,
yeah, 'cause I go back years ago, and the residents on one side of the street that
I
lived
grew
there,
up on the pond side,
sometimes
next
used
to
to
the
have a
flow.
small wharf, a dock out there.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm getting to, is there anything in anybody's deeds that
Are you talking on the opposite side of Pond
yeah,
Street?
yeah. Many times in an area like that, you'll see a house on one side of the road, and they do have frontage along the pond.
I don't know if anybody's got any deeded rights to the pond.
The Conservation Commission does own part of the parcel on the downstream side on the left bank. And I know, and I used to do it too, was because I live on the other side of Pentucket Pond. I'd be able to canoe from one bank and portage across Pond Street through the conservation land and keep going down to Byfield. So for a recreational aspect, it is a deterrence, in that regard. So you can no longer, you're being denied access to town land, conservation land, by having the fence on that side.
I do have on my deed that we own 5.5 rods into the water. when that was a meadow, and when they made it a pond, the people that own the land were given the right to keep the land. The state law rep says that I can put anything on that land that does not touch the water. And I can't use it.
Yeah, that's it. Don't use it.
But basically, we go out almost 100 feet and we own the land but not the water.
Well,
And that's in my deed.
I do remember there used to be some small gates there. And that,
Oh, yes,
with
the
some of the
people down,
walks.
the people down the street
Yeah.
that lived on the stream side, there were openings, and they used to put sand in, had their own little beach, and it worked great. It was like maybe 3 openings.
I swam there many a year, yeah, so we can't do that anymore, so that's we know, but,
It worked fine,
yeah, that's,
yeah. There was a fence about yay high,
yeah, and there used to be gates.
and they used boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my concern, or get it.
Well, I guess my question would be, my next question though would be to any liability if, and Mike or Peter can answer that, if we do remove it. By the way, I'm very happy to see you here. I think it's a great idea. Just-
Well, I mean, that's the question. I wrote down some, well, let me go back. Stu, do you have any questions? Or?
Yeah, I'd be curious on cost to remove the fence, and obviously we've got the cost on putting the guardrail in, and I agree with Gary. I hate that fence, never liked it, and so I'm glad you guys are here and taking some action. But yeah, I would definitely like to understand, what the cost would be if we were to take that fence down, and then if there were issues or liabilities or any kind of additional site work we might need to do to build up the bank again, or have it, workable to go the direction that you're thinking.
I'd say just real quick about the cost of taking it down. We have a lot of guys with Sawzall.
I'd be there too, so I'll throw my hat in the ring if you need some labor.
Now we're talking
I'll donate my
liability.
labor.
I didn't hear that at all.
Throw that out there.
I think the liability issue, I look at it this way, right? I mean, there's this state code book of what should happen on that type of a property, given the length, given the depth, given the bank. I mean, there's a regulation for everything. And the question isn't going to be, should we do it? I think most of us are probably in agreement that, we'd love to get rid of it. I'm agreement. I think it's a concern. The safety concern over it's a bigger arching issue for me, and that needs to be discussed a little further at some point. But then the second part is, well, how do we pay for this when we're really tight right now on finances? So we've got to weigh these options out. But I think it's important we make sure that we know what the code is to of what needs to be engineered there, to have it done right. What can we get away with that's not required of us to have to do, and then what the final costs are of that, and then we've got to just weigh out those options.
Yeah, I think you've made your strong case for the fence to absolutely positively be removed. But like Phil says, what are we going to put back there? We want to make sure that we're not creating another issue. Again, from a safety perspective, and a liability issue for the town. So, at this point, my recommendation is that we, as a board of selectmen, do more research. And I'm not just, we're not just, pushing this aside. I'd like to have a conversation with the conservation agent, specifically to see what his feeling is on the issue. He hasn't weighed in on that. And do a little bit more research. We're gonna have to find no matter what, we're gonna have to find the dollars to do it. Obviously, we'd love to see residents out there volunteering, but I don't think we can get, that can happen in terms of a liability issue. But if we take it down, what do we put back? And if we take it down, what are we creating for issues, as Phil says? So, I think you have the support here for us to do more, do additional research, and let's set a time and date where we all get back together and report back to the group on what we found and what we can do, what the options are, and then come up with a plan from there. I think that's probably the best thing. There's no way we can vote on this tonight without knowing all of the particulars and doing more research. So that being said, why don't we do this? Why don't we give us a month? And we'll get back together, and we'll see what the options are. Is that agreeable to the group?
Sounds
See
good.
some heads
Sounds
nodding.
good. Sounds good to me.
Date on
Give us a month to 6
After
weeks.
town meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 2 months away. I think that's too far out.
That might be a little.
That might be too far out. I think probably give us 6 weeks. So let's look at what's the what do we look like in terms of meetings, Janet? We'll get back.
8th is the state of the town, so the
Keep going.
22nd would be the
April
next.
22nd. So let's get back together April 22nd. That'll give Mike some time to do some research. We can talk additionally with Peter. We can also talk with Conservation Commission. We know there's an issue. We have to also talk with FinCom because there's going to be dollars involved in removing or replacing, whatever we put back. Because we want to make sure it looks nice too. Just taking one eyesore out and creating another one is not a solution. We want to make sure it looks good and it's up to code. So.
Yeah, the other is, can we do something with the community preservation?
Yeah, CPC money.
monies as well.
Let us. We'll do our work, and at worst case scenario, we'll get back to you April 22nd. If we have an answer and we have more information, we'll call you up and bring you in sooner. How's that?
All right.
That sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Is the volunteer thing an out?
Yeah, I think that. Well, I'd say my first impression is we don't want. I understand, but people with power tools, accidents happen. Everybody's has good intentions, but God forbid somebody gets killed, and it's just again, you probably can do it, no problem, but there were kind of some rules against kind of the kind of stuff. I'd say I'd wait on that issue right now. So. We'll check that out.
I'll be there with you if it's
Right.
going on.
Yeah, we'll come and help you. I mean, if that's.
We've almost been tempted to take it out before.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
8:00 in the morning. And the fence
All of a
went
sudden,
away.
the fence is gone. So we realize there's an issue. We're going to work on it, and at worst case scenario, we'll get back together April 22nd. How's that? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate your, time.
Thank you. All right. Let's go to the minutes after. Is Dave Schofield here? Our new light agent.
He's gonna come in the end of the month.
Okay, it's not a-
All right. We're gonna clear out a little bit. All right, so let's move on, please. Is Dana Shuttleworth here? Dana, could you please step forward?
Yeah, maybe.
State your name and address, sir.
Dana Shuttleworth, 13 Hickory Lane, Georgetown,
My friend.
Massachusetts.
Okay, so you're here for a special use permit for a event at Camp Dennison.
Correct.
Okay. That being said, I'll defer to Janet. All the paperwork is in.
What you have, yeah.
We've required, right? Everything is in. There was some concern about the number of people that could be at the event and the capacity for Camp Dennison to, that you may be in excess of that capacity. Has that issue been, have we talked about that issue at all? Have we, the concern would be the total capacity is 180. You're going to be using just the first floor, which is 120.
We have, I put down 150 to 175 people.
Yep.
And we're gonna use the entire lodge,
Okay. Basement included?
whatever we need, I guess.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
the fire chief reviewed the application, and his recommendation was to have a fire detail,
Okay. Okay.
one firefighter.
Right. All right. And also, what about as far as police detail? Obviously, with that many people.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was the chief already down.
Police
Okay.
chief wanted a detail there too.
Okay. So we have fire and police. Okay.
So that would be an added cost.
That would be something you would have to bear. Yes, sir.
You know the costs association.
Did we get a number on that?
Police is by
Contract.
contract, it's about Thank you.
How much was that? I'm sorry.
It's $41 an hour, but he's gonna give us a break.
Okay. All right.
And
You get it for $40.
the fire department just charges their per diem rate,
Okay.
depending on whether it's a firefighter or an officer, it's $14 or $16 an hour.
Okay, so it's not too bad. Too much of a burden.
So is that something I have to go to each of those departments and arrange?
Yes.
May I make a comment
Yes,
about
sir.
capacity?
Yep.
I represent Bob Gorton, Brook Street, Camp Dennison.
Okay.
The 120 and 60, 120 upstairs, 60 downstairs, that's 120 to feed. That means you could sit, 10 people with all these 10-foot tables, round tables around. That's how many you can feed. We're not putting up tables.
Okay.
If we didn't have
That's the
tables, it would
occupancy.
hold a
Right,
lot more.
right. However, the occupancy permit states maximum capacity 180, so we really can't bring that to interpretation, so, and we've had the fire chief weigh in, and he, part of, I would not recommend to the board that we, ignore that recommendation. That would be part of the permit. Tip certified, are we gonna have,
Yes. Yeah.
people serving? That's here, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant from the board?
Oh, sounds like you may have to have a bouncer out front, letting people in and out.
Counting the people. But from what I understand, this isn't, there'll be people coming in and out at certain times, a quick visit in, quick visit out. Okay. All right, so that being said, I would entertain a motion, if somebody wants to make a motion, with the stipulation of the two details.
Let's see. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the special alcohol use permit at Camp Dennison for the date presented, with the caveat that they must have a police and fire detail, as we discussed this evening, on the date of May 5th, 2013.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
If I may.
Mr. Fowler?
We've had, granted, we didn't have beer and wine, but, we've had the open house that Camp Dennison runs, that I think has gone off well. Have you had to have, has the fire chief required anything there for that, or the police chief? Our church has twice used the function, and we've had groups of this size there. We did not have beer and wine, but nobody required a detailed officer or a firefighter. And I don't want to second guess these guys, but I am, I guess.
I agree with you. The only thing that's different here is it's town property, and it's a insurance policy for ourselves. I get it. I certainly do, but I think that we would be wise as the risk takers here to make sure that we're taking all the risk out as we
The added issue is the alcohol's being served, which is, again, having those two individuals there. When there's no alcohol, there's no chance for impairment. With alcohol, there is. I mean, it's just an added risk that I see as part of it. I don't think it's that much of a burden to add the additional fire detail.
I'm gonna have a one-day liquor, additional policy, $2 million.
Right. Well, that's required as part of the whole, yeah.
I guess, David, I'm just also thinking of Camp Dennison moving forward with some of these types of things, and are we gonna have, perhaps it's because of the amount that are there. What type of functions, if I couldn't, Bob, there, what kind of functions, is this the first one we've had, or the second?
First for alcohol, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I don't, I'm trying to figure out why we need the fire in there. There's a cost attached to that.
Well, that's a recommendation from the chief because of the numbers that you've presented. In question, in being honest, are you really gonna use the basement? I mean, from what, that's 60 people,
I'm a bit confused. The police chief suggested that we have a policeman there because of the crowd, size of the crowd, and the age of the crowd.
Mhm.
And I said, that's a great idea, and the committee, Dana's committee that still have this party agreed. But the fire, I still quite don't know how to, I don't know the reason for that.
Again, it's capacity. I mean, you're gonna be.
Paramedic,
I'm sorry.
in case there's an
Well,
emergency.
we're not gonna
He's a
be all
paramedic.
on
Paramedic.
No, it's just
He's
police,
not a
it's just
paramedic.
fire.
Firefighter.
You're almost at total capacity there. And that's, again, let's be honest. Are we really going to use the basement? Is that going to be part of the, if you take out that, you're at 120. Your first floor only holds, I'm looking at the permit, only holds 120. That's where the concern comes in.
Let me explain that.
Sure.
There's 120 upstairs, but that is the great hall, just the big hall.
Right.
To the side is a mess hall.
Mhm.
Another, probably about, probably another 600 square feet, which is not included in that count. And then downstairs, we can hold 60.
I
Again,
think that's the whole building.
yeah, that's the whole building. I mean, I'm only going by what we have here. I can't really, I don't think this board can really go beyond, interpret space beyond what's on this official document that's signed and been inspected. If you feel like you have additional capacity, then you may want to appeal this and go for, come back and go back and get a certificate that says the occupancy is 240 or 250 based on whatever those spaces. But for tonight, this is all we have. Yeah, I'd take a look at that. I really would. As a committee,
It's a
I would.
4-hour party, 1 to 5.
Mhm.
People will be coming and going.
Right. So again, ask for the fire
Yeah.
detail at probably $14 an hour times 4 hours I don't think is an undue burden, to be honest with you. So-
I agree.
Okay. All right. That being said, that answers the question, Mr. Fowler?
Yeah, he's in agree, he's okay.
He's okay with it, so, all right,
I'm
so we-
okay if you're okay.
I'm good.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous. So you have your, and just check in with Janet, right? Get the details and we're good to go.
All right, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Good luck. Hopefully, we'll see more of those, right?
Well, I just have the permit, so we'll have to make copies of it, and I can.
Have you updated this at all, Bob?
Where the X is.
Bottom.
Oh.
Oh, what's that? That's your inspection certificate of the house.
Today's the,
Yeah.
there you go. All set. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we have a application which is for a hot dog vendor. Let's see, I lost my, I lost my spot here. Boy.
Jim Conroy.
Yeah, where is it here?
New business. Third one, fourth one down.
Sorry, Jim. Jim, step right up. State your name and your address, sir, for the record.
My name is Jim Conroy. My business address is 108 Pine Grove Ave in Lynn, Mass. My girlfriend is a town person here on Lodge Road, Kim Terrian Kelly, who also does it with me.
Okay.
And what we were proposing was to try to put a little hot dog cart down at Carlton and East Main. It seems to be one of the only places where traffic would allow it.
And so this is a stationary cart, it's not moving?
It's a mobile food, so it would be a mobile food vending permit. What I usually do is have a van for my stock, and then I have the cart attached to the van
Okay.
at all times.
Okay.
They go, I set them both up so they both go wherever. Should we go to a private party, or should we go to one of the ball games or something in that respect?
Okay. So the plan is not to leave it there overnight or anything like that? You're gonna pull up, sell the hot dogs, and then at the end of the day, pull out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and so if we give you a mobile permit, that gives you access, and maybe I'll go to Mike on this, that gives you access to the entire town, rather than just one specific spot, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right, I'd open up for questions from the board.
Mike, I have a question. On, what was it? Fat Belly was looking to do something down at the parking lot across from the bank.
That's right.
And we denied that.
They asked for a permanent place.
Okay. And so what are the differences here? I'm just trying to be clear and understand fully.
They're, well, one's mobile, one isn't.
So they were looking to be there basically for the season, temporarily for the season, that type of thing?
Right,
At the
and,
parking lot?
and there was considerable questions as to, because of the history of the use of that land, that it was actually allowable in that spot to
Right.
begin with, because there were deed restrictions.
We also had a request for somebody to do it at Harry Murch Park at one point. Wanted to be right there on the street, if you remember correctly. I don't know, if Phil, I
don't know if I was on.
Stu, I don't know if you were on the board then, if you guys remember that. And we denied that, because it was permanent, it wasn't mobile. You know, I know that there are other vendors in town that have the mobile, and they're at all the events. I mean, they do park for the day. You know, for instance, we had Georgetown Days, the Fat Belly Barbecue was there, and, you know, but they're mobile. I think he has a mobile permit rather than a stationary permit. So there's the, you know, there lies the difference. Any other questions from the board?
Do we give Fat Bellies a yearly one, or does he come in for events?
No, he is.
We didn't give him
I don't think
No,
we've
he's
given
mobile.
any. I think he might have a mobile one and this come into events in town when they've had them, but not, he hasn't, like, weekly come. He's only come to events, I think, and he may go through the Board of Health, which I think issues the.
That's,
Well, then that's the question.
I thought that, yeah, I didn't that
Yeah.
go to the Board of Health and not us?
Even ice cream trucks, we don't, you know, we don't approve ice cream trucks, right?
Well, they have to pass the Board of Health for
Right.
sanitary and food,
Right.
but they don't
They have a state
control,
license, though.
you know, their location and things like that.
But I guess what I'm saying is they don't come before us, do
Right.
they?
No, they don't. And they
No,
have a
they
state
just go to the
license.
health department for.
Right, they have a
So-
state license,
So I
right?
guess I'm seeing what's the difference here?
Well, this is a business permit, right?
I think it's because he wants to come and be every day in the one spot. The other, I think the only ones we've had have been for like a function, someone holding a function at the American Legion Park, and it's gone on, they've gone to the Park and Rec for permission to be there for the day. But it's not every week, is my understanding.
I'm not familiar counting.
Geographics, where are we on this? I'm just looking at the map and
Right
I,
off 133 as you come into town.
Welcome to
Welcome
Georgetown.
to Georgetown.
oh, okay,
where
right
the
there,
police officer,
okay,
right where the
Corner.
police officers
Gotcha,
usually
okay.
are.
Oh, okay,
There's
down there,
parking
yeah.
on-
Right there, right on the
Alright.
corner.
gotcha,
You know,
thank you.
again, I was under the impression that it was gonna be mobile, meaning around town, you know, events, just like the other one that we have. I didn't realize that you were staking out that one particular spot.
It's different, this is why you
Open
go
drive,
to the board, because it's different in each town. Like, if I go to Haverhill, which I have a spot, then they have designated spots.
Right.
So they'll tell you, you can bid on this spot, if it's yours, you get it, if you keep it up, you can keep it for as long as, you know, you renew your permits. And then they have a spot that's not so good in another part of town for anyone that wants to come in and get one.
Well, this is a mobile permit, and again, it's.
In other permits, similar to the ice cream routes, they require you to move.
Right, well, that,
They'll say, well, under a mobile
Okay, yeah.
vending permit. And my argument with the board on that was, well, I'm selling hot dogs, not ice cream. So actually, I have propane on board. So I can't be traveling around with water and fuel and different things. So it's kind of like with the hot dogs. You sit for your lunch crowd and you deal with your lunch crowd. Rather than bounce to all these, it's not like running a canteen truck.
Yeah, it's not the truck.
right.
Because it is an open cart, and it's kind of like a novelty thing that I like the kids to do.
So, Mr. Chair, then what are we ultimately permitting? I guess is the
Yeah, well,
question.
that's the
What do we grant, and,
So
and do we
what
have the power? And do we have the
classification
power to
does
do it?
mobile vending
Yeah, I don't-
enter
I
in
don't-
this
I-
category?
And then we'll get to Mr. Fowler. I don't like the idea that it's gonna be there pretty much permanently. That's, you know, this is a mobile permit, you know, pick your spots. You know, it's gonna be there, it's the first thing you see when you come into town. I don't know if I'm, I don't know if I'm on board yet. It's a mobile permit, it's not a stationary permit. And we don't have designated spots where we're bidding out or anything like that, like the other communities that you mentioned, so. Mobile to me is, you're there one day, you know, 2 days later, you may be there, you may be somewhere else in town, so. You know, just like the ice cream trucks and everybody else, so. Again, that's just my opinion. Go to Mr. Fowler.
Do you have a description or a picture of what you look like? I mean, I've seen, you know, in Ipswich, I've seen one that sets up down there someplace on the sidewalk. I've seen them around, but there's all different sizes and types to these.
Right. I don't have pictures with me, but I can get you, I can email them to you if you want.
I think
They won't be here on the weekends. So Saturday and Sunday it won't be. It's basically, what it is I have a spot in Peabody, and I have a spot in Haverhill. And my girlfriend's here in town, so we're looking to fill this spot to make it so that we can deliver to these vehicles, and the vehicle will be kept in her yard.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think we need to look further into this, and I don't think it's a bad idea to put something on our agenda for later on.
Yeah, I think for
because
the whole
we've
topic,
had, yeah, we've had, find out what legally we can do, and can't do.
No. I don't disagree with that comment.
I could help you with it if you want to.
Jim, I think in our, we don't get many of these that come across here, so we're not very well versed in terms of the intricacies of mobile and stationary food carts here, and we apologize that we just don't get that a lot here. The one thing that I'm not clear on is the enforcement. If you decide that you don't want to put your mobile cart on that spot and you just want to go somewhere else, what enforcement do we have? Now, you have your full faith and oath and word, I get that, but that's not enough to protect the town. I just need to get an understanding from
You
from
can't
regulatory
interfere with businesses, you can't do anything to the illegal. You know, you can't park and, you can't go on private property and say, hey, I'm on private property. That doesn't cut it within the permit
Oh, I
range.
get that, but and I'm gonna just put this in general terms, not to you, but if a cart said that they were gonna set up shop at an X destination, and the next we find them in front of the high school, which is a legal spot, or in front of our Veterans Memorial Park, we'd have issue with that, and I just don't know what our enforcement ability is to
Right.
say we don't want that to happen. And it's not against you, it's just
Yeah.
more us just trying to get a sense
It's
of.
a blanket
We
permit,
wanna make sure you're happy with this, and we're happy if we go forward and do something. It's gotta be a win-win here.
Yep.
I think the idea is a good idea. I don't, I don't discourage it. I think that any entrepreneurial type business like this is good. We just need to understand what we're protecting.
There are restrictions in some towns. You have to be more than 2,000 feet from a school, because they don't want the school kids running out during lunch, you know? So there are different towns have different setups.
Oh, I get that. I
all
bet
on
you
their
we
own.
don't. I guarantee you.
We don't.
And only because we haven't
So
had.
that's why I say I could possibly help you with some of it if you wanted. Just throw
I'll
some
let
ideas.
Mike help and get that information, and if you certainly want to help Mike get that, you're welcome to.
Sure.
All right, so at this point, we'll take it under advisement. We will not be bringing forward for a vote tonight.
Okay.
How's that?
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
And we'll be in contact.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
When do you figure on a time frame and something like this?
I'd like to have a decision made by our next meeting if we could, which is 2 weeks out from tonight.
Okay.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
All right?
And if you want to get a hold of me, you have my permit, my phone number and stuff. Because it's different, like Haverhill has their own permit that you go to the board and get approved, and then you go to the health department and get approved
Right.
for another fee.
Okay.
There's also the mass hawker's license, which is required, which most towns and cities go by. Haverhill was an exception.
That's all we have.
Right.
And Haverhill had their
State
own.
hawkers and peddlers license.
Yeah, and that usually covered it along with a blanket policy of insurance. And then you just confide within the health department.
But I have a question. Why wouldn't you seek approval from the Board of Health first?
I did.
You have,
Oh, is this
you
a-
have their approval?
Nope, they said to come up here and see, because it's new.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason that we wanted to promote it was we were looking at the concerts on Sunday night to take on the concession stand there and help out there. So I'm like, well, we'll need a permit for that too, so why don't we just get a permit? Why don't we see if one of the kids wanna work the cart? Because I create summer jobs, and I actually had 4 kids from Georgetown with me last year that couldn't, Market Basket ran out of jobs, they didn't have a job for the summer, so I would give them little part-time jobs. And that's my win-win situation that I'm trying to create, is to give these kids something, to teach them the business skills and the people skills.
I think it's great.
Yeah, some do well, some don't, but for the most part,
Give us some time, and we'll get back to you.
Check in a week with Mike, by the way, so you get an update on where we are, okay?
okay.
Great.
How do I get a hold of you?
Just call the Board of Selectmen's office.
Yeah,
Call Janet.
okay.
All right. Very good.
5755.
Thanks for your time.
All right,
Thank
Jim,
you.
thanks for coming in, we appreciate it.
All right, let's see. Yes, sir.
Do the,
Peter. Got an appointment?
Lilibeth,
Lilibeth.
the
Oh,
conservation.
is Elizabeth here?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Lilibeth. How are you? Hi. We have a recommendation from the Conservation Commission.
Come on up, Lilibeth.
Come on up. We're not gonna drill you that much. Just give us a little background, 2-minute spiel. How's that?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I live on 84 North Street. I have a landscaping, permaculture, organic landscaping business that I run out of the house.
Mhm.
What else do you want to know? I got 2 kids. One's in college, and one works with me. And
So you've
I'm
already been.
interested in helping out with the Conservation Commission as much as I can. I obviously have a organic interest in, how, just doing things in an ecologically sound way. So.
Okay. All right. And Conservation, like I said, they've already recommended that you be appointed. So I would open it up for questions from the board. Any questions? No?
First of all, thank you for stepping forward. We
Yeah.
appreciate, your volunteerism and your service, and other people in town interested in doing that. We have openings, but thank you for doing that. And my only question is, the Concom is a love-hate relationship with everybody, and they're in the middle of it all, and it's a tough position. It's a commitment, and I would just love to hear your thoughts on if you are appointed tonight, that there's a lot of fights that go on, and there's a lot of reasons for those fights, and for good reason. But what really is driving you to be here, and what do you think you bring to the table? I mean, I love your background, and I think it makes a lot of sense for that.
Well, a lot of times I'm at meeting with conservation commissions in my business, and at other towns. Most of our business is not in Georgetown, but I find that if we come to the other conservation commissions with reasonable proposals, they usually go through really quite easily. So I just think I have a sense of, if somebody wants to do something, being able to suggest a way that it could be done ecologically, maybe if they think a little differently or something like that, so that so that we protect our air and our water and our ground. Being able to maybe help with suggestions so people can see how to do what they want to do, maybe a little more ecologically.
So if I'm hearing you, it sounds like you've got experience with some of these other Concoms, so you can kind of bring that purview to the table and have a kind of a wide angle view to see how other towns have done it and do it.
Yes.
Which I think is great.
Good. Gary?
Thank you.
Just offhand, what's your thoughts of the fence on Pond Street?
Well, I guess the only question I had was, are we trying to keep people from entering the pond access at that point? It doesn't seem to be the safest place for people to enter the pond access. So I always thought that's what the fence was for, just to keep, kids and people from coming and going there, because the road's narrow. It's a little dangerous if that becomes a public access way to the pond. So, I'd like to see, because I walk there, my dog there all the time, it would be great not to have such a high fence.
All right. Anything else? Steve? Phil?
Yeah, Elizabeth, first of all, as Stu and others said, thank you for your interest. We are having a hard time today, and many other our committees and boards trying to fill positions, so we're going to get you while we can. But that said, one is it's intriguing to me that you've been on the other side of the fence, having to work with conservation commissions to try to get some sort of a compromise for some of the proposals that you brought to the table. I like the fact that you're working with ecological solutions out there. I do hope that you try not to put an undue burden on homeowners with some of those proposals, and I that's not necessarily for a discussion point, but that's just a point I just wanted to make clear. And I think that, based on that, knowing what a customer of the Conservation Commission has to go through, I like that, because I think that you'll have a deeper appreciation for people who bring proposals to the commission. So.
Great. All right, so I would, somebody want to make a motion?
I do. Mr. Chair, if I can find Lilibet's last name in front of me here. Weiss.
Down the bottom.
Yeah.
Appointments and approvals, number 2.
Got it, okay, 30th. Chair, I move that we appoint Elizabeth Weiss to the Conservation Commission with a term to expire on June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Only discussion, is this an open position that expires on June 30th, and then
Yes,
from
so
there
then-
it's another?
Then it would be a reappointment
reappointment.
for 3 years.
Okay.
They're 3-year appointments, but that was the position that was open.
Right, all right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Welcome.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
asylum.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
There's a
much.
pile of papers waiting for you.
Great,
Thanks,
thank you.
Elizabeth.
Have
All
a
right.
good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you for your service.
Mr. Durkee, you want to step forward, please? And let's talk about giving us an update on snow and ice.
The forecast is for no snow. No more snow.
Rest of the snow, are we
Thanks,
done?
Peter, we're
I'm
done.
gonna be just like the weatherman, 1 to 3 inches.
Okay.
You want to give us an update?
Currently, we're at, is it $84,000 or $87,000 over the 104 that the town allots for snow and ice? That doesn't include this past storm,
Does not or does?
does not.
Okay.
You got an estimate on that? Rough?
I would say between 10 and 15,000.
Okay. All right, so we'll go 15, so we're about.
So we're 200 on it.
So, yeah. So
No.
We're about
only
100,000.
100.
We're about
right?
100,000,
100,
95 to 100, between 90 and 100.
And here's a good point. The blizzard was, I'm almost positive, is going to be declared. And that means that we'll get 75% of that back.
Okay.
My cost alone were 109 for that storm. So, if we get 75% of that back, that's between 70 and 75,000. If other departments put in, the police will, the fire will, the light has to, the water, the school, if they all put in, that will be more money that will go back into the general fund, which will, make it, yes.
All right, good. So potentially we could be 20 or 30,000 over. If
Well,
we
I
get
wouldn't,
reimbursed.
we're still gonna be that amount over, but we're gonna have money coming back in from FEMA that goes into the general fund that can be used to pay for the,
That'd be next fiscal year.
Yeah, you're right, that's a free cash for the.
but it's better to have it than not have it.
So we would have to fund that, Mike, right?
Yes.
Fund that in this, about 95,000 or so.
Yeah, we've been doing that at Springtown meeting lately.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it, because we don't wanna, once you go up, you can't go back down.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, but you can fund it either at Springtown meeting, Fall Town meeting, we've done it.
Mhm.
And you could also just let it float over to the tax recapitulation sheet too, and they just take it out, add it to the taxes.
Mm.
I don't recommend that.
No, that's not, no. And everybody got the SOP, so we're good. Peter's,
Yeah, thank you.
where we need to be. All right. Great job on the roads too, by the way.
Yeah,
We get more compliments. about-
Kudos.
Yeah.
Very well.
Is, the crew's
Very well
good,
done.
and plus the subcontractors that we have are very good.
Yeah, do a good job.
I haven't seen any videos of these guys burying our cars.
No,
so
you
thank
you won't.
And bragging about it.
No, you won't.
Appreciate that.
And most of the time too, just to clarify some things, most of the time, we don't hit the mailboxes, the snow hits it, so it's not us.
All right, Peter, thanks for coming in. We
Thank you.
appreciate
See
it.
you later.
What's your view on Pond Street?
All right, so next thing on the agenda, we will bring up the Synthetic Turf Advisory Committee. Wow. Come on up. Just to let the selectmen know that I did receive a communication from FinCom, verbal, that they were in full support of this particular project, so just for food for thought as we.
From what?
FinCom, right.
Just a note about that, they were opposed to this project when we walked in before we gave the presentation, so we changed a lot of minds in that meeting. Just with the, and they were all numbers people, as you know.
Right. Well, I heard there was supposed to be a half hour and it went an hour, so you must have beat them.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, your tap shoes on, right?
Yeah.
You didn't even sell it, Joe. Once they looked at how the numbers worked and, you know, the sense of the project, it really wasn't, it went very, very well, actually. It's
great.
So, I mean, people came in and said, geez, we really thought we were gonna be against this project, we were opposed coming in, and you changed our minds. And so that was nice to hear. It was, you know, finally a little, I don't know how you'd say that, little satisfaction with a long road.
We also met with the school committee last week, and there was 100% unanimous approval.
Okay.
There, we spent about an hour or so with the school committee last week as well.
And we've been in front of CPC a couple of times. Mr. Trapani was at the last meeting. We had pretty good local support, and I thought it went fairly well.
Yeah, I think that they are absolutely willing to consider the proposal.
Okay, so that being said, when you went in front of school committee, was there full committee there?
Yes.
Everybody was present? Okay.
Yes.
That's good information for me. All right. So give us.
You want to go through it again, the full presentation? What do you want to do? You want to ask questions?
Well, I mean,
we've been here
give us a
before.
quick overview. Keep it to 10 minutes, so that just to refresh our minds. I know we have this.
Okay.
So do you want to? I mean, it's up to the board. I mean,
how much? I mean, I don't know how much you want to go. 'Cause we can go give you the whole thing again. Or we
Give
can-
us the situation, what we're
Right.
solving, and how we're going to solve it.
CPC.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get
3.5
into all
minutes
that.
or
But-
less.
because-
Yeah, the elevator
Right.
pitch.
But keeping in mind that we did ask, and I remember this specifically, that the ask was, did you consider other options?
Yep.
And I think that's the point where I think we want to touch upon is, did you consider the other options, and why is this the best option?
Right.
That was big. I think that was.
That was all
So we
outlined in
put
the-
together
That's in there.
our group
Right,
was
that's it.
our group was formed. We have finance committee, park and rec, school committee. We have non-voting. Carol's here tonight, superintendent of schools. Two members from GAA. So we went through the history, and we went through the previous projects that were proposed. Originally was a project proposed for the top field at 4.4 million, taking pride in Georgetown. That would have been a bond going through the town. As GAA, we were not in favor of that because that would have been added tax to the taxpayers. So we took your requirement, we got together and we assessed how we use each field. So in this proposal is a utilization study that lists every GAA sport in town and every Georgetown High School sport. And it lists by field, by month, by date, by time. So we have a utilization study. And we have 4 or 5 areas, fields in town that are over 100% past normal utilization, which means you can't grow grass. They're just basically, run to dirt. So we looked at that and we said, okay, from that, what's the field that's the least utilized? It's the lower field, which is when you come into the high school parking lot on the right. That lower field is used for the majority of sports in this town: Babe Ruth baseball, all soccer, lacrosse, football. And it's the least utilized because of drainage issues and the fact that the field is not playable because of water damage to the field. We also looked at the top fields, which are used for softball, lacrosse, soccer, and some baseball. We went out as an organization and got a cost to maximize the top field. To maximize the top field, you need to take out, there's a knoll up there and there's photos in there. To take the knoll out, what we didn't know before was that one field is 4 feet higher than the other. So if you were to put a full-size baseball field up there, multiple soccer, multi-purpose fields, you need to take the knoll out and level that whole field. So to take that knoll out, level that whole field to full use, grade it, seed it, and put sprinklers in is approximately $600,000. We had a civil engineering firm do a project assessment. So that would be $600,000. You'd still need approximately $100,000 to $150,000 to get up there road-wise. You'd need to create a parking lot, so you're $150,000. At that point, you're still not ADA compliant. You have no lights, so you can't utilize it at night. And you have a situation, so you're somewhere in the close to $1 million. A turf field, synthetic turf field, is 5 fields to 1. By taking out the knoll, we only create 1 additional field up top. That's it. So you can put a full soccer, you can angle a few things around. So we're at $1 million. We have no lights. We can't use it in the dark. We're still in a grass field. We've only got 1 field. So again, The field that's has the capacity and the capabilities is the lower field. So with the synthetic turf project, cost-wise, it's approximately 1.4 million, 1.5 million, 1.4 for all the infrastructure, which can be done with CPC money. And that's from lights to grading, removal, backstops, drainage. What can't be done is the procurement, the purchase of the synthetic turf. So GAA is the funding partner for that. It's 450 to 500,000. We've been raising money for this for about 3 years. We'll have enough money, okay, and we have a funding path. We can demonstrate to you how we get our funding in the history. So we'll have enough money to purchase that turf. If we can go on to the lower field and we can light the field, not only is it a great partnership for GAA, it's a great partnership for the high school. The current problem that we're having now is because of that size of that field and what it's supposed to do, we're not able to get our girls and boys varsity and JV soccer games scheduled and run. So in a fall, a typical week in the fall, what happens is 2 o'clock or so on a game day, Wednesday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon, we get a call as GAA, the school can't play a game there. They need to go to West Street. Okay, so what happens at that point is the 8-year-olds, the 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, the soccer parents who have 4, 5, or 6 o'clock practices, they get pushed. So their practices are gone. So again, if we're able to synthetic turf this lower field, we're no longer going to push onto West Street for games. The other part of it is we're able to run our football program there, which currently uses the top left field for practice Monday through Friday. So they run that field to dirt. We're not able to rest any. Again, synthetic turf field down below, be able to practice there every day. All of our soccer games will go there. And then when Georgetown High School is over at 5:30, 5:45, lights will come on. GAA flag football currently is at Pembroke Monday through Friday till about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. All of those practices will move there. So there's a sequence here, and we went through the events. From a town perspective, from a field utilization perspective, we don't need to put a road in, we have parking. We don't need to put bathrooms in. We don't have any issues as far as lights because of, you know, what's there. And then we'll be able to utilize the field for other things in town. We talked with Carol, graduation from high school. You know, when you graduate, it takes 2 or 3 days to set up on the baseball field. Okay, if we have stands there for 500, we'll just put chairs out. I mean, we graduated there for 25 years. You can't any longer, because if it rains, even 3 days before graduation, the field's a swamp. You can't go out on it. So you'll be able to do band, concerts, graduation, community type, you know, events, adult leagues, you know, things like mushball, for example. That could come down there very easily because the pitcher's mound is the only dirt that you'll have on that field.
We're not going to put any dirt there.
Right, it's
Really?
portable.
Right.
So that mound will come off. During soccer season, you'll have kids practicing there. You could have games going across. So it's really a community situation where we can guarantee our high school games are going to be scheduled and played. We can move a lot of our high school practices onto this field, put a lot of GAA events onto this field, and then also tie things together. If you go to any of the communities right now in about an 18-month span in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, there's 90 synthetic turf fields, be either installed, process, or ongoing. So if you go to North Andover on a Friday night, they have flag football before a home football game, and then they have it at halftime. So we're struggling a little bit in the town. You know, we could probably bring 150 or 200 people to an event to support the high school and be more of a community type of thing. But also, if we move high school football to Friday nights, Saturday, that facility's open all day, whether it's high school soccer, GAA soccer, so U12, U14, which require a full field at West Street. You have 2 fields at West Street. One is a full-size field, and another is a smaller field. All of a sudden, all of those games come there on a Saturday. You can put smaller kids on West Street. You know, there's a lot of flexibility. So the turf project or the capability with the high school there, you have a 15-year lifetime with a synthetic turf now with the newer models. So the second step in that original project, as you remember, one of the concerns from the school committee was, okay, this field's going to be on our property. Who's responsible to replace this carpet in 15 years? So GEA has the funding source in place now is we'll put a bank account, you know, in place, and we'll guarantee to put a certain amount of money in that. Within less than 5 years, approximate time frame.
We're probably looking to do 50,000 a year
Right.
over a 10-year period, and then this turf is a 15-year life on the turf. So within 10 years, we should have the money in place to replace the turf in 10 years. So
Right.
50,000 is a comfortable number. We could do more if we had to do more, if that was what was required.
But we have other projects still. GA is you know, doing a lot of stuff in these other fields. So we have a one-time real situation here where we can solve a huge high school issue. We can solve a huge GA issue. There's a donation in place. We have a funding source in CPC. And the thing that we never really focused, and again, I don't have, you know, John's son is graduating, my son is not in this school, but we don't have kids playing high school football or high school soccer at this field. So the other night at CPC, we had parents come, we're getting letters. The amount of injuries that we're getting on the high school surface right now is tremendous. Knees, I mean dramatic high school injuries because the surface is
So beat up.
so beat up. And so we had a parent, you know, kids are getting multiple different types of knees and ankles and the rest
It's
of it.
because it's so muddy there, and there's no footing, that these guys are having issues
you get
with,
like
with their
little
legs.
pits and stuff. And,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
in the
not-
corner,
it's not uniform.
And that's one of the reasons what he said is, this field is the worst conditioned field we have. And there's not, you know, we've tried. We put $5,000 worth of sand on it last year. The school aerated it. We put $5,000 worth of seeding material and sand in there. And it's still, we
Still
only
not
played maybe a few games on there, and it still wasn't any good. And there's nothing we can do until we control the way the water flows down onto that field, and we solve the drainage issue on that field.
Is that
On the-
solvable there?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah,
I've
most
heard
definitely.
various
Yeah.
people saying to me, "Oh, it's not solvable."
No,
It is."
we've went,
Yeah, that's solved.
we've
I mean,
gone.
turf field solves that problem.
Yeah, I mean,
we've looked at
drainage
numerous
underneath the whole-
numerous
That's right.
projects, and it's amazing where they're putting these projects. If you go to Manchester High School, right out in front of the high school, there's a river, there's a golf course, there's a synthetic turf field in an area that was basically kind of a swampland.
yeah.
So that's definitely solvable. And then for a history standpoint, over a 5 or 6 year period, GAA, we aerated the top fields. We spent up to $7,000 fertilizing, seeding, aerating those fields. When you have that much use on them, you cannot grow grass. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So-
they're trying to stay off the lower field so they can use it for games. So it gets no use during the week. So what you're doing is you're stressing every other field. Like the top field gets the grass run off them because every team is practicing up there, multiple teams, and then GAA is trying to go up there and practice, where eventually you just have a situation where there's no grass left. Now you put stuff down onto a turf field, we can start cycle resting some of these fields and growing grass back on these fields because we won't be using them over and over and over again. If you look at the use schedules in your book, you'll see it's way over.
It's
over
trampled. I mean, it's
it's
completely
terrible.
overrun.
I mean, we've
Right.
had some complaints. Some of the referees, you know, not wanting to, you know, complain to Jim Demento, whatever, Park and Rec, that, you know, we don't want to play on your fields because they're, you know, they're not in good enough shape to really have games on without a little bit of a safety issue. Now, it hasn't become a we haven't lost any games yet to that. He had mentioned that, and I'm, you know, a little concerned about it. And we're a little concerned about, you know, West Street being near the well fields and stuff like that. If they ever decide we need a new well, we lose that field. We're also concerned about the Pembroke building project. If we get kicked off those fields, we're going to have no place for our kids to play because we're using them.
You mentioned Pembroke. That once this construction is done, that will actually help because of the additional fields.
Right, but you know right now, anytime if you're a parent that has to be up there at say 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock for a baseball game, right now we're creating a major safety issue because we got people parking all along the side. People are trying to get out of the school. I mean, I was responsible for that field for 5 seasons, between the fire department coming up and, you know, moving cars. So take that and put a 3-year construction project up there. What it's going to be like there for 3 years. I mean, yeah, ultimately in the end, if we get the school in the back, you know, we'll be able to move the school.
You're going to get it in the woods.
Right.
That's happening.
But it's a
definitely gonna happen.
It's a 3-year process, and we actually put a copy of the 2008 town park and recreation conservation. I mean, overall athletic recreation study, and in there it says, you know, the town needs 30 to 40 acres of land of, you know, active recreation. That was 2008. In 2008, we didn't have a full-fledged lacrosse program in town. 2008, which we have 250 kids playing lacrosse now. We didn't have a full-fledged flag football program, which is 225 kids playing. We didn't have summer all-stars baseball. We play 200 kids play all summer long here in Georgetown. So, I mean, the athletic programs have expanded dramatically here in town, and we just, you know, we're not doing anything. And the reality of you know, clearly being able to fix one of those upper fields without resting it, it's just not going to happen.
What about rental of the field, using it for MIAA tournament games and stuff like that?
That would be up to the school to do something like that. If they wanted to do, that would be a possibility. If they wanted to rent it out and use the facility. We're not really looking at that aspect because we're looking at it as the school's gonna use it and GA is gonna use it. If there's leftover time, maybe in the summertime, you know, but we're gonna use that field a lot. I mean, it's.
I think the real possibility here is we've talked with Park and Rec. If you put this facility here, you probably could have a Park and Rec summer program. You know, both of us grew up here in town. I spent 4 or 5 summers working there, and we had an 8-week Park and Rec program. But a lot of other towns are charging for that type of West Newbury has a great program at the Page School. So that's a revenue potential. You already know the facility gets used for a week for the police baseball camp. But again, that's a sponsored event. Georgetown Baseball is one of the big sponsors of that. So there's potential. But we truly believe that we could, one of the people asked the other night, what are you going to do with people walking their dogs on this? I mean, one, it's going to be fenced in. So it's not going to be an open facility. But the use for this, unless the person's out there 5 o'clock in the morning, I mean, is going to be so tremendous that you virtually will not be able to drive into the school from any time on a weekday from 2:30 till 9 o'clock at night. It won't be in use. I mean, even today, all right, outside right now, in any town that has this field, a synthetic turf field, it's clear. Snow is, they use a rubber blade on a tractor, they clear the snow off. Right now, our athletic teams, the high school varsity, JV baseball, softball, and lacrosse, are taking 1-hour segments every day in the gym, and they're in there throwing balls around, beating the heck out of that facility, because they can't go outside. But if you had that, they'd be outside, and this is where they would start their season.
Okay. I just writing down general questions for people at home to understand. So who's paying for the lights? Or do we even pay anything for the lights?
That is part of the project, that it goes.
No, I'm talking about the ongoing bill for the electricity for the lights.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, we did Jim Demento actually went out and did a study. So what did he say for a 5-hour game, it's $100. You'd have $100. So that would be something, whether it goes into a town, responsibility. Like right now, we light Pembroke, we light American Legion. We're lighting all these fields in town right now. Or we'd have to have a situation where you'd set up some form of an escrow account. Any money from camps or whatever would go towards offset this cost.
So we don't have a commitment on the cost on the lights, because the lights can get expensive.
To run the lights, we know what it costs to run them.
Right.
Yeah, we have a number. I don't think it's as expensive as you said. I think
my point is,
Jimmy looked at that number.
Who's picking up the cost? That's the question.
Yeah, the town would pick up the cost on that. The school, just like they do, the schools would be picking up the cost on the lights.
So do we see that increasing from where we are now?
Yeah, because we're not using it.
Right, we're not using it.
Right.
I'm trying to get the hits.
It was intended to be used.
Right. Well, so there's an additional cost. So I just want to make sure that we figure that out.
I have that number, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. Jimmy Demento had researched that number, and 150 for like a long period. So it kind of sticks in my mind. These lights run cheaper than you think, but I can't give you the exact number what it is.
The ongoing maintenance, I seen in there that we're actually going to save a little bit.
Yeah.
Is Carol comfortable with the maintenance? The additional maintenance that would go in her budget on that field.
A normal field, a normal field is approximately 30. That size is $30,000 a year. We're not spending $30,000 a year to currently maintain. That's water, cutting the grass, lining the field, fertilizing it, all the rest of it.
Right.
Right now, the high school department, the maintenance department, they probably spend 8 to 10 hours a week lining that field for games, football, soccer, lacrosse. That all goes away. Okay, the watering goes away, the fertilizing goes away, the aerating goes away, the tractor requirement goes away, the 4 or 5 hours a week that it takes to mow that grass all goes away. The only thing that's required from a maintenance standpoint, and it's part of our package, is a unit that gets hooked onto the back of a tractor. You attach a hose to it, and it's a seasonal thing. You know, you ride it over the turf.
Yeah, you wash it.
Wash it. But what we're being told is that's used in places like Texas and some of the southern areas where you can go months with no water. I talked to the maintenance department in Phillips Andover, and the guy told me any place that you get over 3 inches of water a year, you don't have to wash the surface because the water goes right through it. So they're not, but we would buy the unit itself. But you know, we get so much water here that it's not something that's a major issue.
We charge an admission for games, like the football games. Do we charge?
Yes, $6 for an adult and $4 for a student.
We're doing that presently because
That's the cost.
But
presently.
we presently lose 50% of our home games.
Right. Well, that's what I'm
Right.
getting at, to pay for the lights
Yeah.
and additional. Okay.
Right.
And if we were bringing in some, outside people like little kids to play flag football and build a little bit of a community and stuff like that. I mean, a little more, connect the programs a little bit better is what we'd like to do.
Okay.
And when you drive in there and you see a nice facility on the right and then you see little kids playing, we might get better attendance at our high school games too, which is a better gate too.
My last request would be, you say you're going to put money away for 10 years down the road so that it's recapitalized. I would want a trust agreement set up with that account, where once the money goes in, the money can't come out.
Right.
We want that too.
Because you guys are here
Yeah, no,
today,
but-
3,
Well-
4 years down the road, 5 years down the road, you're no longer in charge, and they're saying, well, we can't afford to put. We would want that money put in a trust agreement where once it goes in there, and the only way it can come back out is with an approval from the Board of Selectmen and GAA together.
Yeah.
I mean, we want only to come out to replace the turf because that's
Understood,
what
right.
For nothing
There'd be
else.
specific
For nothing else,
language
right.
that says
That's
only
fine.
under these circumstances can withdrawals be made once the money's put in there. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. That because that for me ensures that 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road, we're no longer here and there's a different group of people.
Right.
That money's there.
Right.
To replace. There's a worst thing that can happen. It doesn't.
We
get
should have
replaced.
this set up to cover the fields for 30 to 40 years for this town, this project. And you're never gonna be able to do it for the money we're gonna do it for, because if you use CPC money, it's not going on anybody extra taxes, it's already taxes that are collected. You're using state matching funds, and you're getting a $500,000 private donation now, and a $500,000 private donation spread out over the next 10 to 15 years to replace the turf. So that's why I think we're able to change some minds.
Well, I'm all for it because that field the way it is now, it's really is it's embarrassing.
Yeah, and that's
It's
why,
embarrassing.
that's why that is the spot. Not only is it embarrassing, but it's the central location that when you come in, if you had a nice field up on top, nobody would see it. But if you were coming in as a prospective buyer in this town, you drive in there and you look at the high school and you look and go, wow, what a beautiful field they have here with lights and stuff like that.
I missed that when I moved here.
Right. All right. So I want to wrap this up. So one more question each, if I might.
15 years out, that carpet's going to be more than $450, isn't it, to replace? I mean,
It could be cheaper. The prices are actually going
They-
down.
yeah,
on these
Yeah,
carpets.
they did a surface 7 years ago. It was $775.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the materials improved, the safety's improved, and the lifetime's improved.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The life expectancy of these turf fields is going up, and the costs are going down.
And my second is how quick would get through everything would you guys be able to be moving on?
I limited it to one question, but you're already on
Sorry,
two.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all.
it's a
That's
four-
all. right.
Once you're through,
1.5.
we've met with conservation. Steve Kozemski. We've met with him. He's we've done the test pits. We've done some engineering studies. CPC gave us a little bit of money to do that. But getting through the permitting process, just say we use 6 months. The engineering firm says that's a long window. They feel that we can put a project in front of Concom and the town that's safer, better than we currently have right now with the drainage into the brooks and everything else. Overall, from when they put the shovel in the ground is approximately 4 months.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean,
Great.
it's just a matter. I mean, we have to get it by the CPC.
Well, that was
they
the-
have to agree, I guess.
Right.
That's the.
Yeah, where are we with that? That would be my last question. So where are we with CPC? Have you gone to them and presented the
We
project?
met with them. Well, I've been there multiple times. We've been there 2 times in the last six to 8 weeks, I would say.
Right.
We want to do the project all at one time and do it in one shot. Okay. Harry is interested more in looking. Reading the tea leaves a little bit. I might be speculating. He wants to do like a 250 now for engineering, bidding, and all the preliminary stuff, and then do it next year. So I don't know, we're kind of hashing through that. We'd prefer to do it, go for all the money up front, and then let's just go get it done, and we can get it, I mean, once it's rolling, I mean, it should only take, 2-3 months to get it done once it's rolling, but we've got to get through, the building inspector told me we only had to go to conservation. The town planner seems to think we need to go to him too, so there's a little discrepancy there. I mean, we're not trying to.
We asked CPC.
He thinks we need to go to the planning board too, so I don't know if that's what the case is.
No, I don't think so.
But all we're asking for CPC is to put it on to a town vote in May. So we believe that a project of this size, you have approximately 3,000 people that will use this. I mean, there is no other project that this town can put forth that you will get 1/10 the usage of this investment. But we want to put it out to the town. We'll have a information session at up the high school. We'll answer people's questions. We'll bring an engineer in. We want it to come to a vote.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Gary, I think Gary was, did you have a last question, Gary?
Just about the parking that's there now. Is that still there? Or
That's
is-
Still there.
The parking-
Nothing
We're not gonna
changes.
change the parking. Parking, which that we can't expand it.
We
but
got a concession stand there, we got parking there, it's handicap accessible, you can, for games and ambulances, parks right at the edge of the field, I mean, there's so many pluses
One
to
last
that
question.
project.
Bathroom facilities, are they in the
How'd you
school?
get 3?
In the school. Yeah, they're in-
Taking
they're-
mine,
yeah.
Stu.
Oh, how'd you
Are they
get
in the
3?
school? Are they
Yeah,
just
they're in
using
the
the school? That's what
Yeah.
you're doing?
The
Okay.
front entrance to the school, there's bathroom facilities right next to
We
the
do
auditorium.
put like, now,
Porta
when I
potties
say
and
we, I'm talking about GAA as an
Yeah.
organization, we put out like the Jiffy John
Porta
type
potties
things.
and
We put the
stuff,
porta
right.
potties out for,
For like
the top
after
fields.
for the top fields and stuff like that, but that's.
But
you
if
know.
you're doing a 9 o'clock show on Friday night, the school's not gonna be open, right? So what are we
Well, it'll
doing
be a
for
school event.
facilities? No, I'm just saying like a football.
But if it's a
or something like
GAA event, then the schools wouldn't be open for that, no.
Right.
Right, so our people are gonna have to deal with what
that.
they
Then you
always
would
have
do
to deal
porta
with.
potties or whatever you need.
Dunkin' Donuts.
All right, Mr. Smith.
Mine's easy. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do all
Yeah,
this
this is a
work.
great package.
We have a tremendous athletic program in Georgetown. We really do. And I spend a lot of time on those fields, and a lot of volunteer effort goes into it, and we can never seem to catch up. As much money as you pour into it, as many volunteers are out there raking, we can't catch up. So what's really important, what I'm hearing, is this creates a whole different usability approach, and it will allow us to actually make the most of the money we put in other places and get more usability. So I just want to say thank you both on the work on this and also on the athletic front. It's really great, and hopefully we can find a way. Great.
Mr. Trapani.
So a couple of things. One, I did go to the CPC meeting the other night, and I can tell you, you got some work to do there. And I think you guys realize that. Their concerns that they have is just on encumbering those funds for a period of years, and it limits them for doing other projects.
Right.
But I think it's not unachievable at all. I think you have a good opportunity to work with them on that.
Can I address that, Bill? Just that one point, because I think that's a critical point that you just brought up. Because each one of those people that is on the CPC, you got conservation, you got housing, historical, planning, conservation, whatever it is. They all have like the agendas that they want to see done. Okay, it's the green belt, it's the roofs.
We
It's all the
cannot
different
speak
things.
for the CPC.
I know, I'm not asking to speak for it.
You keep going, fighting your fight over there.
Yeah, I think you're
We'll
going down a
help
slippery slope here. I
advocate
would-
if we
Yeah,
want to
but
do
what I'm
that.
saying is, this is a project that's we want to get in front of the people because we think this serves the people's tax dollars a little bit better than some of the other projects that have been done over the time or will come forward in the future. So we just look at it as, this is a project that the townspeople are actually going to really get a good benefit, and there's going to be a lot of townspeople that are going to get a good benefit out of it. Not that the other projects aren't worthy projects but just the bang for the buck that you're going to get.
But
we
also,
think is very good.
if it's done correctly, you're gonna bond this project, and you're still going to have money for these other projects. We're not taking 100% of the available CPC money. I want everybody that's watching to understand that. None of these, because there's a requirement every single year for CPC funds that a certain percentage goes to affordable housing, a certain percent goes to elderly housing. There's there's pockets that a certain percentage of the money goes to, and that still will happen with this
You
project.
can only use 70% of it on this
Right.
one project.
It doesn't
so that's-
take all
it's
of the
still-
money, and these all these groups don't get shut down.
You have some work to do over there, and I think for the folks who are supporting you on this, we'll certainly do our part to advocate on it if we believe in it that much too. And I know I do. I think it's a worthy project for that. The one thing that I will ask you guys to do is this. Some of the things I've read just in terms of the replacement cost, I don't know how many people are going to believe that it's going to get cheaper. I know, economies of scale, they start producing more people. I get that part, but inflation and everything. So we got to assume that it's going to cost more. And if you just go by inflationary numbers, projected over the next 10 to 15 years, somehow let's play with some numbers on that.
Contingency.
And give us a range. The second is the disposal of it. I'm reading it's costing anywhere between 100 and 150 grand to get rid of these things on top of the replacement. I'm not asking you to shoulder the full burden of that. I just need to know, as a town, what our expectations are in helping replace this as well. So if you can just do a little research on that.
Yeah, those are good questions. So I think with our escrow account, as John said, if we, right now we're at say 450,000 for the unit, for the piece right now, and as you said, GA has the capability easily within our funding capabilities to put $50,000 a year. So we could put we could ask the project, the people that are bidding these, give us an estimated range, if it's 3% increase a year or something like that.
You guys do some homework for us, that'd be great.
And then they're obviously replacing units, older ones that are out there, we'll find out for disposal costs. So two great questions.
All right, and the trust agreement for that $50,000.
Yeah, that's something that we would mandate that we put in place anyway.
Do you want to have that drafted, or do you want us to try to have that drafted?
I would talk. Yeah, Mike will take care of that.
That's smart, Mike.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Great job. I don't think we need to vote on anything tonight.
Well, we got to get it on a warrant
We're
article.
with the warrant articles, it's there's a placeholder there, but the detail's not there yet.
Have we voted to put it on there, or we just have it in there?
We voted.
It's a CPC warrant article.
Right, it's
Yeah,
here
that's
though.
why
It's on there. It's part of the CPC agenda.
Yeah.
It's there, but there's no backup to it.
How does the CPC, the committee, we've gotten a recommendation from finance, we've gotten a recommendation from school committee. How do they know where people stand? Selectmen, obviously, they're going to look to you guys. What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, we'd have to see.
They may or may not, actually. They're an autonomous board, and we have.
Hasn't stopped them or started them in the past.
That could help.
If I could say something.
Yes,
Dave,
sir.
some thoughts. It's not often, I mean, CPC is a great thing because, you've got your tax money, you get matching money from the state also, not completely matching. But it's not often that you have another group to step forward and you're getting money from
A
you
donation,
guys.
you know.
So, it's, keep bringing that up,
Yeah, when's the last time you saw $1 million donation? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's,
Every other town but Georgetown.
I mean, we recently.
Yeah, it's coming from
Institution for Savings is
banks
Recently,
or-
we've gotten some
Piggery
matching stuff
Insurance
from the
Company.
state for some of the open land that we purchased,
Yeah.
which helped with CPC, and that goes back into the general fund. But I mean, it's, so, just
Well-
keep working on that. I mean, that's, to
Well,
me-
we're on a short time frame right now. We have a few weeks.
You've done
Well, we're
excellent
going to
in the
vote
timeframe you
individually
have.
on the warrant articles, so
Yeah.
when we get there, we've got the information that we need to take a vote. So,
You talking about the town meeting or before?
no, here,
beforehand?
before
for us
it
to-
goes.
Beforehand, okay.
Yeah. It's up to us to, vote on.
This
it.
was very helpful for
Yeah.
personally.
Right, I mean, non-binding, I mean, you certainly have my support. I mean, Phil's already said, I think you got the full, pretty much, I won't speak for the board, but a non-binding, yeah, we're, answer those questions, get your CPC funding in order, and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right?
Thank
Thanks,
you.
gentlemen, great job, by the way.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
remember when I was on
Appreciate how we
FinCom.
can help.
You were here when I was on FinCom, that's a ways back doing this, so it's been a long time.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Are you waiting for something specific, or,
On the rail trail.
oh, the rail trail stuff? Okay, so I see Jeff's here.
Oh, we got 17 more things to get
Yeah,
through
we
before
got-
that,
yeah, we're
actually.
gonna- So rail trail, why don't you come on up? I'm sorry, I didn't,
Good night. Thanks, Carol, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
you guys wanna come up, rail trail? Okay. So Jeff's gonna give our presentation, right?
I'm not with them, I'm opposing them.
Okay, so why don't you hold off, let me get this, you can sit up front if you want, in the front, and then we'll go from there. All right, so Jeff, tell us, yeah, let's go over the, you finally got an agreement together.
Finally got an agreement after 15 years. So,
wow.
Overall it's 15, but with me I've been on it for 3 years now. So.
Right.
And
Mr. Paganelli's not here, he's down in Florida, right?
Right.
Okay, so
I think he is. I'm not
he'd be
sure.
here, wouldn't he? I'm sure.
Not sure.
All right. So go ahead. Sorry.
So, basically, as we've negotiated with National Grid for a license. The difference between a license and a lease is that the license is a 5-year renewable, and a lease that we'll be going after next is a 99-year lease. The only reason why we need the 99-year lease is that if you use state or federal money, they want to have a lease so that they know that it's going to be around for a while. But for us to use it and get on it to be able to open it up to people, the license is perfect for that. We negotiated with them, with Copeland and Page, a lawyer by the name of Kathleen O'Donnell was employed by Copeland and Page, and then partway through she left Copeland and Page, but Copeland and Page gave her the authorization to continue for them on our behalf.
Okay.
And now town council is actually on board with the process, and Kathleen is not, so it's moved to the next stage. So give me the name. Town council is
Tom?
Tom McEnany.
Yeah, McEnany, thank you. Sorry, Tom. I've only talked to you around 20 times in the last 2 days.
It's all right. Don't forget your name tomorrow.
I know. So Tom has reviewed it and passed on information which I sent on. There was an area in which there was some question of language, but we've checked with with our insurance, our town insurance, and they will insure us. We've talked with town council, and they strongly believe, and so do I, that there's enough options for us to protect the town from any kind of a lawsuit. Mainly, the state has a statute that makes it so that you can't sue the owner of the property when we use it for things like this, and for acts unless they are willful and wanton, which is basically gross negligence. And with gross negligence, we are not liable, only for what's considered negligence, but it's like if something is left behind not on purpose, it's negligence, but it's not willful negligence. And if somebody tripped on it, then that would be there. But we have the statute in front of us that would make it so they couldn't be sued to begin with. So, and then we have our insurance in case it ever gets that far. So, so I think that our recommendation, we voted on it in our committee, the Rec Path Committee, and unanimously voted to support it and suggest that you approve it.
Okay. Any questions for Jeff? No, we have the materials. Gary?
Gary Morris, I'm a landowner.
Excuse me.
I think he meant,
Oh, this
I think he meant me.
Yeah,
Sorry
Gary.
about that.
Sorry. This, wrong Gary. Gary Fowler.
There's a lot missing. There's, it mentions maps and that, we've not seen them. Exhibit C is in there. But one of my biggest things is looking at this, I guess this is just the license.
That's correct.
Then you're still looking for the lease, because this thing is only for 5 years.
Right. Renewable every 5 years.
But it's also on here, it's stipulated now that this is just dirt. So are the paving plans out?
So let me, if I can explain that, because that's a great
Okay.
question. Our ultimate plan is through the state and Face Spofford and Thorndike, who are the engineers, to design it with a paved surface. That's our ultimate plan. In the interim, this agreement allows us to go on and clear the vegetation for a certain distance for the path and use the path, leaving the dirt as is right now. The agreement with National Grid allows us to go back and amend this at any time to add to it. And the reason why we did that is because National Grid is extremely it takes a long time to get through with any negotiations with them. So the tack that I suggested that we take is to get the basic agreement done so that we can use it and clear it and use it. And then if we want to go back and put in, say, a bridge, a footbridge going across some of the openings, or put a treatment on the surface, as in stone dust, or even pave it, we can do that. We're allowed to go back and amend this. But when we amend it with something like that, we would have to go in with actually engineered drawings. So, and that's not an issue because as we're doing the design right now, we're going to be getting those engineered drawings. So if we want to take a piece of it and build all the bridges, then we can take the design from Face Spofford, submit it, and then they can take a look at it and approve it, and then we can go out and bid it and build it. So that's the approach, and we always can come back and amend it.
Now, if I may continue, there's nothing on here about allowing equipment on. So you're planning on doing this with wheelbarrows and that?
Anything that we bring in, what they said is that you can use equipment up to 7 feet tall. They don't want any big heavy equipment. They don't want any trucks and things like that. But mowing machines and things like that we can bring in and use at this point. If we have to go in, if we want to go in with anything bigger, then we have to get that approved through them.
But yeah, because I mean, it mentions here on page 2 about allowing first responder vehicles, but then in Exhibit C, it excludes them.
Right.
Unless there's a special type of vehicle.
Right. What they're mainly concerned of is
height, it sounds like.
Well, it is. It's a combination of the height and the voltage, and there's no real issue. I mean, they drive down all the time, as everybody knows, with huge trucks. But what they don't have is they don't have a study of the area to say that you can bring in the larger trucks, and that would have to be done if we were to bring in any trucks. And who pays for that? That's still up in the air at this point.
And what is 12, the eminent domain section on page 11?
I would have to see a copy of it. On what page?
11. That's I guess that's if another government agency appropriated them.
Took the land, then this lease would be terminated.
Right.
Okay. So that's not, we're not taking anybody's.
No, we're not doing it.
land.
This is all National Grid land, correct? They own it?
Yeah.
All of it? I mean,
I would differ with it. As it says
On that first one?
It's a right of way.
They have the right of way,
Exhibit
they
A.
don't own all
Yeah,
of it.
They don't
Well, they own, right, they own from, well, it gets a little complicated, but basically they own a little bit between Andover Street and Tina's. There's a couple of properties that they don't own right there. And then they own from West Main on north to Byfield. And then they own a little bit coming down on the other side of Andover. The rest of it they own in fee.
What?
In fee, which means they own it, absolutely own it. The land down south, they have by county decree, which means that they have the right to use it. They believe they have the right to allow others to use it, and they also have excuse me, I'm trying to think of these names right now of all these 1921 indenture, which basically says that if anybody asks, or if anybody comes up and says that they question whether they own it and they say it's theirs, then by this decree, National Grid can has the right to take it from them, purchase it for $1. So, for all intents and purposes, they own that too, but absolutely from West Main North.
Good. Okay, any other questions, Gary?
Just to let you know, I invited Mr. Morris here. I called and let him know that this was going on tonight. He has approached me with concerns. I keep getting more and more concerned on this. I mean, this was something I was really behind in the beginning, but I've had people call me about hunters. They're very concerned about it right away. I don't know if anything's been good, but just hear me out.
Yep.
Another guy called me that lived down in the across Meadowview. Yeah, he brought up an excellent question, which I called Merrimack Valley, and that was, if we're getting a tip in that to end up doing this, are we gonna have to plow this in the winter? I mean, that's what they're talking about.
Okay, so the
you know,
answer-
if this is a right of way, this is a new method of getting to, let's say, the railroad station down to Newburyport. That's part of, I think, why TIP is getting behind us. It's alternate methods. So I mean, what's our liability in the winter?
So I can answer that. Absolutely no liability for that. It's seen as being a more of a natural trail, so that in the good weather you're riding your bikes, and if it snows, you know, let's go out and do some cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. So there are no requirements from the state or from the federal government to keep this thing plowed at all times. Absolutely not. So that's it's seen more as a multi-purpose recreational path, and that is seasonal, as you all know. So because you have different recreations on the different times of the years. So in that respect, I think that the town would not have any liability of doing any clearing whatsoever on that, on the trail itself.
All right, any other questions for Jeff? Gary, I think Gary has kind of represented your concerns, you know.
I'm not sure. But
I don't know.
Well, no, I have some concerns I want to go over with as far as a bunch of things he just said that are, and things that are in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's voice them rather, you know, I mean,
Yep,
yes, it's a time commitment.
One of the concerns is, that we won't mention any names, there was an accident that involved a kid from the town, and it was in the Georgetown Record, and when commented on it, it said that 15-year-old kid, wait a minute. But basically what they said was, when the Officer Cudmore contacted the power company said, there are several areas of the abandoned corridor that are privately owned, and we can assure you we don't own the area the kid got killed on. So it's a convenience thing to them. He mentioned a very good point about the 99-year lease. This was what I had heard when I first got into this, that the railroad had a 99-year lease, and the electric company has a 99-year lease under the railroad. And this was fine and dandy until '65, when they made a new assessor's map of the town. And when they did so, they took the whole increments of the railroad bed off the assessor's map. So when you go to New England Power now, what they tell you is, oh, we've been paying taxes on it since 1965, so we own it. They don't own it. They have the right to use it. I have all kinds of different paperwork. He had mentioned here, and this is...
Wait, can I stop you right there? Tell me why you're against it.
Because I own property that has frontage on it, and according to him and everything else, that my neighbors have property also, that I have surveyed plans done by engineers that say that corner of the railroad bed and my property owns this abandoned railroad bed. And when I brought this before them and said, can you have the town council go over this and do a composite title search in accordance with the Massachusetts law that says they can't be surveying property without showing who owns it, and there was a Supreme Court decision in 2003 dealing with this that explains everything of it. And when I brought this to the committee, showing them what's going on with it. I had a certain individual on the committee telling me that's irrelevant, and it doesn't matter if the engineer has their stamps on it and this is that. As far as they're concerned, that the electric company owns that property, and according to this, when it shows my property right here going to the other side of the railroad bed, and this property here with an updated septic system saying they own that over there, and the new assessor's map of the town, which was at one of their committee meetings that shows that, they say that's all irrelevant. There's been people that tried to straighten out their property lines up and down here because of this, because they had septic systems on other people's property, and whenever you go before this committee and you bring anything dealing with this, they give you a snowball such to the point where they've had illegal meetings and asked me to leave the meeting when other people was a member of, there wasn't even a member of the committee.
When you say this committee?
The Recreation Path Committee. And whenever I, brought anything to my concern, I said, fine, have a title search done.
Well, that was what I was gonna ask you. Let me ask you a question. Do you have an owner's title policy on your property?
I have just the deed that says I own it, and that's in this paperwork.
Do you have title insurance that you
No,
purchased
my
when you
parents have
purchased the
owned this property since 1950.
Okay.
They subdivided it in 1965. The subdivision says the back property has an easement across the front property to Thurlow Street. And like I say, and on this here, this shows my property going to Thurlow Street. It shows that this abandoned railroad bed is abandoned. And in our deed, it says that we have the right to the herbage growing in between the travel parts of the railroad when it's a railroad. The electric company under here has an indenture, which is in addition to these agreements that were done in 1850. All they have is an addition to it because of the acts of 1926 that said they can have the electric transmission lines on railroads. And I have other paperwork. In 1956, the Haverhill Electric Company came to my parents and they said, we want the right to clear an additional 50 feet in addition to our transmission line right of way. You don't need a right of way on property you own. That is the whole thing of this whole thing, is it is a right of way. It is not property they own. They are not supplying a deed saying we own this. We emphatically own this from this deed, and we have the fee interest as the Supreme Court decision said in 2003. And every time I go in there, every time I give a stack of paperwork, it's
So to me, it sounds like your argument's more with the utility rather than the recreational path committee.
Where's the fee interest that shows that this utility company that's giving them this license that won't give them a lease because they don't have one, and then when you read the paperwork, it says they're giving you any rights they have to give you.
Right.
And this is exactly what the railroad did to the electric company. Rather than have 60 lawyers tying everything up, and according to the acts of 1926, they had 1 year to deal with it, and it says in it that the aldermen and everything shall be notified. In fact, they updated the voltage on this power line going to Newburyport and to Haverhill, and they had to send all the abutters a piece of paper saying, we're inviting you to a meeting if you have any questions. They had it at the Rock Pond Pub.
Right, but I want to get... So what you're saying is that...
I'm saying you have an eminent domain taking without compensating the people that own the property.
Okay.
By National Grid, though.
By National Grid.
No, by the town, by allowing them to do this. By your bicycle path, saying that this is it, and like I say...
Oh, wait a minute, I dispute that fact with you, because, first of all, we wouldn't be doing that unless we get, our legal counsel advises us, on what we're doing. Our agreements with the electric is with the utility. I think your beef is with the utility, not the town.
Well, the beef is, where are the fee interests for this property? You're negotiating with the company that won't give you the fee interests of the property. And when asked what they own, they tell you they own everything, and then they say they don't. And then there's articles in the newspaper saying...
So Gary, hold on. So two things I want you guys to know. And you can comment on this. We actually did do research after you came in. We did all the research trying to find out where the rights to that land went, and we sent you a letter along with town planning.
Can I comment on that?
After I finish.
Let him finish.
Along with the town planner, who also reviewed everything along with us, and we sent you a letter indicating that you, in our opinion, and from what we found, and we gave you the information, you don't own that land. And National Grid also sent you a letter many years ago that stated the same, that you do not own the land and they do. So we've done a lot of due diligence, in our opinion, to find this information out to satisfy the town planner and ourselves and National Grid, that they own the land. So I think that personally, I think you're right in that this is an issue, and it always has been. And I know that your issue, and I feel for you, but your issue is with National Grid because that's who's not letting you go onto the land. And I know that this goes back, what, 10 years or more, 15 years? So
Is this or not a licensed professional with the stamp on this plan that says that my property, map 12, parcel 66, goes to the other side of the railroad bed, here's the imaginary railroad bed that doesn't exist, and my abutter's property goes over there, and according to your paperwork, that does not exist. This is a licensed professional engineer that is done by another engineer that was done this, that is filed in Georgetown with the Conservation Commission and everything else, as well as other paperwork I have on other properties that say this, and you're told me that unless there's circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back, that you're not going to accept this and I should go away. Is this not a plan done by an engineer that is licensed in the state of Massachusetts that has this filed in this town that shows that right there? Map 12, parcel 66, going to the other side of the
Let me do
railroad bed.
this. You've made your point, okay? You've made your point, and quite eloquently. I think you seem to obviously know what you're talking about. My suggestion to you is, and again, the town has a stance, you have your stance. If I was you, I'd hire an attorney to represent you and go to the electric company, the power company, and file your complaint. That's I mean, you seem very well versed in this, and some of this is over my head. Again,
except for a Supreme Court decision that was done in 2003, nobody wants to deal with this because all the plans they've been doing in accordance with this are wrong. And then you go to get somebody to do it, and they're going to be suing themselves. And this is the problem with this. This whole abandoned railroad corridor is privately owned. In accordance with this Supreme Court decision, it says you cannot be surveying property in the state of Massachusetts and have an ambiguous strip of property not saying who owns it. When I went out to Thorndike and they were out there surveying it, I said, are you going to put who owns this property and what book and page it comes from? They said, listen, we got $1 million to spend surveying this and we're going to blow the money before anybody takes it from us. So this Thorndike that he's talking about are not surveying, giving you plans in accordance with the Massachusetts Supreme Court and a 1971 law that says there can't be ambiguous strips of property in the state. Does it say on your plan who they have the book and page from and what deed gave them the right to own that property that they're allowing you the license to use?
Point of fact, the surveyor is not Thorndike. It was paid for and commissioned by the state.
But, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so
Right.
whether or not Engrid
Yeah, Ingrid.
can grant us the license and then the lease is a legal matter. Either they can or they can't legally, right? And then obviously we need to be able to legally, but the point is, and going back to what the chair said, is we have no say whether they legally or cannot legally do it.
Yes,
This issue
but
is
the issue
with
of the
them.
language that they're giving you is they're giving you any rights they can give you. It is not saying, we own this property because of book and page, we're allowing you to do this.
well, let me interject. They're not charging us anything for this lease. So, at worst case scenario, if this gets all reversed, we don't have use of the recreational path.
They can terminate it at
Right.
You know,
They can terminate the lease. So
can too,
getting back to
so.
Steve's point is your beef is with the electric company that they're giving us rights that you're saying they don't have the right to do.
The beef is with the town, because my property that says I have a deed to and from Thurlow Street says that my deed is irrelevant, and it also says that this deed here that shows his updated septic system at 92 Thurlow Street, that shows this going over to Thurlow Street and this property is wrong.
If I may?
Sure.
It's just I did call you, and you know this is going on, Gary, but I can attest to the fact that surveyors can put their stamp on anything they want.
Right.
I've had to go to court for my own property because some surveyor came and said, oh no, we own this, and I had to hire attorneys and that to say, no, you don't. And unfortunately, I have to continually, every time the house gets sold, watch that they don't go back to the other deed, otherwise they're taking it again, because that never goes away. But my concern here is, Dave, I mean, you understand this better, but we're missing Exhibit A. We don't have that. And it does clearly state that state right of way. But I guess you would probably understand this better. They're claiming they have a right of way and they're licensing us to use their right of way.
Right, and if they say they have the right of way and they've vetted that and they have it all, you know, who are we to say, no, you don't? Now, we have somebody that's contesting that. That's why I say, the beef is with the utility, not the town.
This is when they dug Thurlow Street up in 1994. It says Attorney Stephen Strass has followed this so you can do it. It says, if any construction equipment needs work in approximately 15 feet of our overhead lines during repairs, the Mass Electric Company needs to be informed prior to any construction. All OSHA requirements when working on the right-of-way. No stockpiling of materials will be allowed on the right-of-way. No change in grade will be made to the easement by excavation or filling except as approved. The owner and contractor agree to indemnify, protect, and save harmless Massachusetts Electric Company from any cost, loss, damage, expenses, or causes of action arising out of any accident or occurrence causing injury to any person or damage to property by reason of or in connection with the work on the right-of-way. Notification to Paul Marshall shall be made on whenever work is done on the right-of-way. This is when they dug Thurlow Street up to put a water pipe on my property. It says here, right-of-way, and easement. It does not say on property that we own. If they own the property, they would emphatically say that is our property.
Again, I'm going to go back to, you need to go and bring your case to the electric company. Period.
The electric company
Most
loves.
of that's in here too, just to let you know, Kathy.
Exactly.
It's almost
Exactly.
a copy of
It says the
in here.
same thing. It says the same thing in that agreement as it does here.
Right. Well, I mean,
so they're saying whenever you do anything, if somebody goes to sue it, and it's like David fighting Goliath. It really is, and it's a, and there's other mitigating circumstances.
so give me, besides this issue, why else are you against the rail trail?
This is I have 1,000 feet of land on this. This is my frontage to it. If they make this rail trail, they are landlocking my land that I can't get to because my access right now, because of them taking roads off maps and different other things, if you have frontage, you have to use the frontage. There is frontage on Thurlow Street for these two parcels of property.
So you're saying if the rail trail goes in, you're going to be landlocked?
Yes.
You won't be able to drive a car into your...
Right.
He can't get there right now because it's
Yes,
National
I
Grid's
can.
land, and they keep putting barriers up.
Yep, and the gate that's across there, when I asked them why they put it there, they said Fraser requested it and the gate is on their property.
Well, again, I have to go back to, and stop the discussion here, that I think, and Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, I think most people in the room think that, again, your issue is with the electric company. If they're giving us rights that you feel that they don't have the right to do, then I think, again, you have to go to them. And I'm not passing the buck. I'm just saying, they're giving us this, their legal counsel vetted it, our legal counsel vetted it, says it's a legal binding contract. Whether they're giving us rights to something they don't have, again, you may have a great case, I don't know. But I think you have to get to them and say, hey, look, you know, why are you granting rights to somebody on a parcel that you don't own, or you don't have the right to do?
It's like in this Raleigh versus Mass Electric Company. It says exactly everything here. Right. It says that the railroad had rights only for a railroad, and the electric company went under their rights, and they don't have any rights to give anybody anything. Right. And, you know, like I say, and it gets back down to that 99-year lease. And they don't want anybody to know they don't own it, because when somebody comes by to do something, they say, give us a bag of money. When the kid gets killed out there, they say, we don't own it. And they'll tell you, and then when I said, fine, if they don't own the property the kid get killed at, show the town a map saying what you own and what you don't own. And they say, no, you have the location plan, we own all of it.
Well, I think again, that's a good point to bring up to the Rail Trail Committee, to make sure that as we go, again, we're going to probably move forward with this 5-year agreement. The other issue is, before we enter into the 99-year lease, we want to make sure that we are getting what we're, yeah. Because if we're going to put millions of dollars into this, and Merrimack Valley's going to put millions of dollars into this, we want to make sure that they can't say, "Oh, you did something, we don't own it," and we're left holding the bag. So in that case, you've really brought out a real good point. Again, I don't know if I agree or I don't agree as far as all the things that you brought up. But the point is, I think your beef is with the electric company. We will, based on the advisement you gave us, make sure that this committee follows through on those before we enter into any type of binding 99-year agreement, because we don't want to get stuck holding the bag after spending all that money.
And the state has the same requirements. So.
Okay. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. It may not be as quickly as you want it, we will get to the bottom of this.
My point is, okay,
Yeah.
it's throughout the town. Are you gonna make them show a deed with the word fee in it that is not something that says they have the right title and interest to the land that they were allowed?
I don't know.
And he said that they had the title searched. They didn't have it searched by a professional title searcher, and they told me in
Ms. Hopper.
1899
Sure we
that,
did.
Well, you know, and again, that's a dispute between, again, point well taken. We've got the information. We will ask those questions. We'll continue to stay on top of the issue. My suggestion to you is to go to the electric company and plead your case again. So, and see where it takes you. But thanks for coming in.
it's David fighting Goliath.
Yeah.
It's,
No, unfortunately-
the issue is in the town with the property, and by you allowing this, you're taking the property by eminent domain. So that is gonna be the recourse to get everybody together and have a class action lawsuit for eminent domain
Well,
taking.
I mean, again. Yeah, we're not taking the
No,
property,
the
releasing.
domain going on here.
But anyway, let's not get
But
into that.
it's not a-
the legal
Just
issue.
one quick question.
Sure.
So, is Engrid doing this with other towns?
Yes.
So this is a,
Topsfield, Boxford, and ourselves.
and I suspect
and
there's,
Newbury.
I suspect there's the same
Concerns.
type of questions as we go through the whole system. So,
I went to the
mean, they're
meeting-
gonna have to solve
We went
this on a
through-
state level
Yeah.
at this magnitude.
We went
I mean,
through
this
as a
is not gonna be just
four-town-
Isolated, you know,
Sorry.
this is gonna be, they're gonna have to understand if they can do this lease because it's multi-town, it's statewide.
All right, at this point, I'm gonna move the question. How's that? Discussion's ended, and we're gonna move the question. All right, Phil, well, we're gonna make a motion.
I'm gonna
excuse
make
me.
a motion.
Then we'll move the question.
Chair, I
All right,
move that we-
Gary, thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank you
enter
so
into
much.
a license
Thanks, Gary.
agreement by and between Massachusetts Electric Company and the town of Georgetown as presented for this 5-year license agreement.
Second.
All right. Discussion. Gary says Gary says there's exhibits missing. Can you speak to that?
Yes. Exhibit A are the VAL maps. They lay out the original, those are the maps used that laid out the original tracks or the land. And so those are there for, as Exhibit A. We've submitted those to them. We have them on record. I don't know if you ever saw VAL maps. They're just a bunch of series of drawings that show the land.
Well, we wouldn't want that in this completed document. so
Yeah, that's
we're-
gonna be, and then, so there's that, there's also, our plans. Base Fokker did some plans showing where the trail actually is located physically.
Okay.
And there's there's another exhibit saying what we're gonna be doing on the land, which is, using it and removing vegetation, so there's requirements on that. All of those are gonna be included. Once I get the approval here, then I go back to National Grid. They will put the whole package together with all the exhibits and then bring it back over in here too,
So you need approval before that happens?
yes.
Okay. Otherwise, they won't go and.
Otherwise, they won't go to that next step, and then what they'll do is they'll put the packages together, they'll send them on over, we need to sign them, we'll get them all back to them, then they'll sign them, and then we'll get a copy of that.
Okay.
That's a question.
Yes, sir.
So, and I'm sorry if I missed this, the reason for the interim step of doing a license now with the goal of doing the 99-year lease versus just waiting till the 99-year lease happens is,
The reason is so that we can get out there and use the trail more immediately than we would if we had to wait for the design to get done for the final trail and also the funding to be given to us to do that.
and is that, has that precedent been set with other towns doing it this way, or is this unique to us in terms of, or we don't know that answer?
The southern, the B2B is from Danvers, from the border of Peabody. Danvers all the way up to the Salisbury and the border of New Hampshire. Danvers, Wenham, and Topsfield all went on their own way and got a license through, it was the MBTA. It wasn't Engrid, to be able to use the land. So that's I think precedent right there that they've already done that. But again, for us, the reason why we're trying to get the lease is that the state requires that
Funding.
for funding purposes. Yeah.
Got it.
All right, so, any further discussion?
Well, so what you're saying, exhibits B1 and C are gonna be filled in later after?
C, I think, was
Well, there's exhibit
part of the
C
package
and
that
then
I
there's
sent along.
C1.
That was the requirements, is C, the requirements for,
Conditions for activities within the rights of
yeah,
way.
yeah, and that was
Okay.
sent along, I believe, I sent a copy of that. We actually have that.
We're gonna need to put that in with the.
There's a
Oh, it's definitely
C1.
gonna go in here.
The C1,
Which is the
additional
C1?
conditions, activities, that's about the
Additional
height of the equipment and
Not
everything.
asking
Oh, yeah.
for a signature tonight, just an approval.
Right.
Yeah, there's no signature
We won't
tonight.
sign
This
it
is-
until it's
yeah.
completed.
Can
Yeah.
I just clarify that then? So we are voting right now, the motion on the table to approve this document once completed for signature
Yes,
Yes.
and creating a binding licensing contract.
yes.
And just to repeat what I heard earlier, the legal counsel, our legal counsel, has gone through this and is okay.
If I,
Thank you.
one last question, I
Sure.
know this is taking a while. But it looks like then you're phasing this in different parts by getting a license to use it now. How is that with the Fish and Wildlife? Because I know in some conversations I had there, they last I knew, they weren't happy about doing it this way.
Well,
And which is a big,
yeah, and I
which
don't-
is
and
the
I don't know
largest
the-
abutter down
Yep.
there at that
No, no, I know.
town.
And I'm not sure about when the last time you talked with them, but we have had them in. We have talked with
Yeah.
them, both the hunters and the endangered species. So what the requirements are, and National Grid is also on board with us, is that we need to go through Concom to present where and what we want to do, and then they have to, it's incumbent on them to notify the proper agencies and departments to have input in it, and that's one of them that would, is the endangered species group that would be doing that. So we can't, our understanding is that the northern part from pretty much at the Parker River Landing development on up, we can't, there's certain areas in there that we can't use until we go through the full review with Concom. And in fact, we can't even do the southern half without Concom too. So we're in the process of submitting to them for finding out what we have to do as far as approvals and everything from them too. So we can't get going until Concom gives us that approval. Okay, so if anybody's out there, you can't use it just because we're signing this until we get the approval of Concom. I want to be perfectly clear.
Put your bikes on.
Put the bikes.
All right, so, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. The ayes have it. Okay. All right, get us the completed contract.
There you go.
for
Thank
the
you all very
exhibits.
much.
Thank you.
All right, thank
for your
you.
work.
And let's make sure that, obviously, going forward with this issue of title,
Yep.
that you guys are on top of that and report back to us.
Yeah, we will, and
'Cause it's concerning.
yep, and well, we have had Hopper go through a whole beginning title search and everything too at the
Right,
very
usual.
beginning of the project. But and we do identify certain areas where certain lands that we know that we have to get agreements through the actual owners of that
All right,
portions
I
of the
just
land.
want to make sure.
But
We
we'll
don't want to
continue with
waste
that.
money.
No,
Put
no,
money
we'll
into it and
continue
then have
with
it
that.
taken away.
Absolutely.
If I may,
Yes, sir,
have
Gary.
you had any other abutters that are, I mean, how is it going out there with? for this?
Well, far majority of the people are extremely for it. From what we've seen, we did survey. It was a few years ago, but we surveyed all the abutters, and we got a tremendous feedback, upwards of 85% in favor of it. There are some that do not want it because they're afraid that that it's close to their home, and that's totally understandable.
Yeah, some of the concerns I'm getting.
We'll work with them to try to see what can be done, if anything, to lessen that fact. But we also have experience from other towns. For instance, Salem has one, and they had a group of people that really didn't want it, and some of the most outspoken people that were against it at that time are now really for it, because it's really like a you know, a great place to meet people and to see your neighbors and stuff like that. That was their opinion. I'm not saying that that's going to be the opinion of the people here that aren't for it right now, but there's plenty of articles that we've read in the research in the towns that we've talked to, other towns, that just say overwhelming, even the people that didn't like it have come to like it and appreciate it. Again, not everybody will, but the far majority currently does, and I hope will continue. So.
All right, thank you, Jeff. We have a full agenda.
Thanks,
All right,
gentlemen.
let's go through some of this other stuff. We have minutes from January 14th and February 25th. Everybody take a look, had the opportunity to take a look at them?
Yeah.
All right, so let's take the first one. Somebody want to make a motion? Then we'll have discussion if there's any.
What do we do with it?
January 14th.
That was, I think I had a question on if I may.
Well, let's get a motion first.
Okay, yeah.
Somebody want to make that motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes as presented for January 14th,
Okay.
2013.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Gary, go.
Yeah, on a back page, I think that's the one. I haven't got it. Okay, I've just found them. The 14th, yeah. Anything further back, Steve, on the Seabrook plant? Did you ever hear anything back?
You know, I did get a return phone call, and I owe them a call. I'm actually,
Okay.
now that you bring that up, I'm missing doing that, so I will take care of that before our next meeting.
Okay, thanks. That was
I
just,
did
yeah,
reach
just
out to
wanted to
them,
know where we were.
And they called, and then I have to call them back, so I will put that on my list of things to do.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. February 25th.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the the minutes of February 25th, 2013 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Needs to be a correction. Stu was not here, I believe, for that one. He's on his present.
Yeah, I wasn't here either.
Which,
Last
They
meeting,
got you down, yeah.
225.
225, correct.
Okay.
I move that we make the change to strike Stuart Eggenberg on the meeting minutes for 2/25/2013.
Second.
Well, you guys is like totally out of order, but that's all right. You're supposed to amend the motion, but that's all right. So that was what you were saying, you were amending your original motion to strike out Stuart Eggenberg, that's what you said? That's what you second?
I second
All those in
that.
favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Now we're on the right
track.
Now we're on the right one. All those in favor of the approving these minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Boy. All right.
Getting late, huh?
It's getting late. Okay. We had a request from Senator Tarf to submit capital projects, municipal capital projects. I talked to Mike about this. He's going to get something off to Bruce. I guess we need a quicker turnaround time on this. I guess they asked for it and it's due in 3 days. So Mike's going to work on this. I'd ask you to speak with Sandy Garrity also, just to confer with her, because they do ask for budget.
Your guardrail for Pond Street.
Top five budget priorities, and they actually look for each capital project. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at CIP and just run it by Sandy.
Mr. Chair, if you
Yes,
will, can I just ask, is this an exercise, or do we ever get anything out of it? It's an exercise, and there's, okay.
It's the loaded.
I'm just kind of curious.
All right, the financial management review. We had a financial management review from the DOR. We've had them in, and we've talked about this. The final report has been issued. It will be up for public display very shortly. We have not had a chance to go through it, and we'll book another meeting. If we have to have a separate meeting on this particular issue, we will, just to sit down and go through the recommendations. This is an audit report like any other audit report, where we start to implement the changes and suggestions that they make. There was nothing earth-shattering in there, from what I understand, Mike, right? Nothing earth-shattering that we should be doing, that we're doing
Nothing that
incorrectly?
hasn't been recommended in the past.
Right, okay. So we're gonna get on that and take a look at it. Georgetown Liquor's not coming in tonight. We got a notice from the town clerk, the resignation of John Bonazzoli from the Finance and Advisory Board. John, thank you for your service. I know John put a lot of hours and a lot of time in on FinCom, and we thank you for his service. I know that there's openings on FinCom. If you're interested, please contact the town moderator. We do need to fill up our finance committee. So if you're good with numbers and good with budgets, we could certainly use you. We also have on the, let's do the appointments, then we'll come back to the town warrant. We have an appointment request, and I spoke to the police chief earlier about appointing Philip Klebanski as a police officer. Somebody want to make a motion on that, please?
I move to appoint Bill Koblanski as police officer with a term to expire June 30th, 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? He's at the academy right now, and he's the gentleman that plays the bagpipes too and all the parades.
Yeah, but I mean, this is just a typical, we're not putting on another officer.
No, this is just typical.
Just the appointments that we
Right.
routinely do.
No budget effect on
Thank you.
this particular thing, from what I understand. All right, we have a motion and a second.
He's being upgraded from reserve to full-time.
Right.
He's replacing.
But he's replacing
It's a
a retiree, right?
Somebody who left.
Okay.
But again, no budget, as far as I'm concerned, right? The money's already been budgeted,
Right,
obviously. There's
right,
no reserve.
No extra
No
person.
reserve fund transfer or anything like that. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, Lilibeth, we already did. Also got a request from the school building committee, which I'm on, to put Peter Lucia as a non-voting member, because we do have the feasibility study for the high school. I think this makes 100% sense. So,
I move to appoint Peter Lucia, Georgetown Middle High School principal, to the school building committee with a term to expire
yeah.
June 30th, 2013.
June 30th, 2013.
I'll second the motion.
Voting member.
And then
Non-voting.
As a
Non-voting
non-voting
member.
member, sorry.
I will second the motion, including the non-voting member.
Right. Okay, so Peter Lucia is a non-voting member. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
One thing just clicked in my head, Janet. On the February 25th minutes, I need to abstain because I wasn't there. So I don't know if I did say it. I didn't say anything. I know this, so put me down as abstaining. All right. Request from the American Diabetes Association for the Tour de Cure 2013 to travel through the town on May 19th. This is a recurring event, right, Mike? We've done
It
this in the
is.
past. Any discussion on this before we vote? No? Okay, so let somebody take a crack at that.
I move to approve the request from the American Diabetes Association for their Tour de Cure 2013 to travel through Georgetown on Sunday, May 19th, 2013.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, done. All right, Mike, do we need a budget update?
No.
All good?
All good? Nothing
all
out
in
of
course.
whack? All right. So the last thing we have is the warrant, which we've closed, I think, right, at the last meeting, because I was not here. So we want to tackle these, or do we want to do this and have an extra meeting this month? You guys tell me.
I'd suggest an extra meeting.
If I may also, I think one finance asking that we have a meeting,
Joint meeting?
I remember the other day talk of that.
Well, they
At our
they
next
didn't
meeting-
want us to wait till the 25th to approve this. They want to,
Yeah,
they want feedback from the
Okay.
board prior to that.
yeah.
All right, so that means,
Don't we want feedback from them first?
well, that means we're either do it tonight, or we go
Set the warrant.
March 18th.
Get that, but we
Right.
need to get a nice,
Either March 18th or tonight. Take your pick, gentlemen.
I think what was the reason they wanted us to?
Because the 25th was too late for their meeting schedules.
Well, we have to go article by article, right?
I mean, we could take a half an hour and do it now. We're already here. I mean,
I
why
would
come back
take-
another night? Let's just do it.
Do it now.
Let's just do
gonna
it and
be
get it out of the
here.
way. The
Yeah,
Mike
let's
won't be
do it
here,
now.
let's do it right now. Okay.
then let's do it then.
Fine with
Oh,
me.
did I say that out loud?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, no,
Did I say that
no.
out loud?
All right, so,
Did I say that?
so Jenna, we have everything on the, we've got everything done except for this, right? I just want to make sure before I put this away. We're done? We've got everything done? All right. Okay, so we have the special town meeting warrant first. Article 1 was creation of reserve fund for accrued liabilities. This is, what I understand, this is to handle vacation time that's accrued on the books, so that this actually, we're adopting the statute. The second one is for actually open up the account, right, Mike? Do I have that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have an individual that retires that has 5 weeks of vacation time on the books. We want to start accruing for that now. Okay, this has nothing to do with the health insurance unfunded liability.
Agreed.
This is different, okay? All right, so Article 1, somebody want to take a stab at making a motion to accept that? Or do we just do this all as one, Mike, because this is the special? No?
No,
Keep going?
probably do them separately.
Okay, separately, okay, go.
Chair, I move that we approve Article 1, Town Officers and Committee Reports, ATM 13-01 to the town warrant for May 6th. 2015.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
If I may, David,
sir.
I fear that this is just going to make these things too routine. I would rather that we try to get it out of stabilization fund as these things come along. That's my fear, that, you know, once we create a account, we as a board have, we made some headway on this in our recent negotiations with the employees, and I just don't want to see this become routine.
I understand. I don't disagree with that methodology, but
I agree with the thing about funding it.
Right,
Did
we
you
should
find
be-
out, Mike, if this is just for town employees, or would this include schools?
I did not
Okay.
find out. My inclination is it's just for town employees.
Okay. I agree with you, Gary, but that doesn't mean it's not still a negotiable item. Just because we have an accrual doesn't mean we have to fund it. This is just a vehicle, in my opinion. So that's still, I don't think that's gonna take it off the negotiation table, to be honest
No,
with you.
I agree, but I mean, it's just nothing, I don't even think these things would come in front of the board anymore. It would just create an avenue to do them, and then it's gonna be routine, and this way, where people are aware, and we're aware of when these things happen, because.
We have to approve the payouts, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they have to come in front of us anyway, Gary. So we have to approve the payouts. We just can't.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm serious. I mean, we do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when our police chief retires, if there's any accrued benefit there, right? We would have to go ahead and, that has to come in front of us for a vote.
Yes.
So we have to find the money somewhere. If we had an account with some dollars set
So we
aside as
would
a.
continue to vote.
Absolutely.
Once this
Yeah,
account
these
is
aren't
there, to pull
automatics.
money out of there. It won't be routine.
I don't see how it
I
could
mean,
be.
you know.
Well, you have to fund it every time you're gonna have an issue.
Yeah, but
with
I mean, it can
right?
get,
Well, we can fund it as part of the budget. This is just to adopt a statute. The second one is to
No, I
set up the account.
understand.
But as part of the budget, we should be putting money away as part of a line item
For
budget
these,
into
correct.
this.
I just don't want it to get lost in that thing that's down there, it's this thick.
I understand. I don't disagree with you, Gary. Right. But I think this is just prudent accounting, in all honesty.
And, Mr. Chair, we're not
Right.
enabling anything here, right?
Right.
This is not enabling. This happens no matter what. This
Right.
has
Correct.
to do with our contracts.
Yep.
This is just making sure we account for the funding more proactively.
Right, and and this way we're not hit with a big.
And it's a
I
separate
understand.
line item that you
Yeah.
can break out and see it, you know, it's.
All right. All those in favor?
Hold off. I
Oop.
apologize because I read the ATM article, not the STM article. It's the same number to 1301. So,
Oh, you said ATM rather than STM?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's Article 1, Creation of Reserve Fund for Accrued Liabilities, STM 13-01. I think we need to second that still.
Second.
Okay.
All right. All right, so, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Okay, so that's 4-1. All right, the next one is just to actually,
I move that we approve Article 2, Reserve Fund for Accrued Liabilities Appropriation, STM 13-02.
Second.
all right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
This value would be set.
In the motion.
Right,
Yes.
that's a meeting. Yep.
Right, and where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay?
Correct.
This can come from free cash, this could come from a line item, right? We can make this a line item budget and fund it every year if we want to.
Maybe.
Okay, well, I'd like to know about that.
What's the maybe?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I don't know how you'd get it from a line item into a fund like this.
All right.
No.
In the real accounting world, we do, but that's different. All right, so,
You don't have town meeting.
yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, 4-1. Adjustments to the fiscal,
Chair, I move that we approve Article 3, Adjustments to the Fiscal Year 2013 Operating Budget, STM 5.
We did that last week.
this one was done already?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did do that.
3-0?
This was done.
Oh, dear God.
Was it 3-0 or 2-1? What was it? I want the vote.
It was 3-0, right?
3-0, right.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, regular town, annual town meeting. Committee reports.
Chair, I move that we approve Article 1, Town Officers and Committee Reports, ATM 13-01 to the town warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
I move we approve Article 2, General Operating Budget Reserve Fund, ATM 13-02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I move that we approve Article 3, Stabilization Fund, ATM 13-03.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Question, to see if the town will raise the appropriated transfer of money from a sum of money to be added to the stab fund. So we put money in, we're still gonna look to maybe transfer some free cash. Is there a recommendation from FinCom on an amount?
No, not yet.
Okay, so this is just saying we'd go ahead and do it.
Typically, I think last year we didn't move on either of these and decided to do them in the fall.
Yep. I'd like to know where the numbers are on that. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move we approve Article 4, Capital Fund, ATM 13-04.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
One question.
Ooh, okay.
Why do we have the not to exceed $50,000? Not that I'm saying we can even exceed that, but just out of curiosity, was that language in order to get this thing on the first time, and does that still
Yeah.
make sense to have that language?
That was,
in
because
there?
that was me a long
Yeah, I
time
think it's in
ago.
our SOP, I think.
Yeah.
So
We don't, yeah, right. We did approve the SOP, and we don't know what we're going to be able to. But at this point,
Again, we
50
didn't-
grand will still be a
we
stretch.
didn't move on that in the spring last year neither, I don't believe.
That's fine, I just wanted to know the
Yep.
origination of that language.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. I move that we approve Article 5, Water Department Operating Budget, ATM 13-05.
Second.
We're not actually approving the dollars until we see it, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we're just allowing it to be presented.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I move we approve Article 6.
Gary, you want? Aye, okay.
I'm sorry. Article 6, I move we approve Article 6, Water Department Budget, ATM 13-06.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye. All right,
Okay.
so we've got the consent calendar. I'm going to go through that all the way to Article 16.
Just take a quick, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I
Yep.
think that's-
You guys good with that? All right, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Articles 7, ATM 13-07, Article 8, ATM 13-08, Article 9, ATM 1309, 10, Article 10, ATM 13-10, Article 11, ATM 13-11, Article 12, ATM 13-12, Article 13, ATM 13-13, Article 14, ATM 13-14, Article 15, ATM 13-15, and Article 16,
Excuse me.
ATM.
We don't want Article 15.
Right, that's just a,
Nope, that one didn't.
Just keep going, we'll amend it.
yeah, we'll go.
And Article,
Well, you haven't seconded yet, so we can withdraw 15.
I'm going to withdraw my
Just go 14.
comments
16.
on Article 15, and we'll go back. So we asked for Article 14, skipping Article 15, Article 16, ATM 13-16.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Can you read those again? Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, but we're omitting 15. But we need to move that fund, we were told by the state. So isn't there an article, is there a warrant article
Yeah,
after this? It's after, right? You got
Yep,
it in there after?
17.
Okay, all right, it's the next one after. All right, good, I'm fine. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
That's how he really
Aye.
feels.
Aye.
All right, so those were all 5-0. Consent calendar was 5-0. Okay.
Article Fire Department Enterprise Fund Creation, ATM 13-17. I move that we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on this particular issue. I met with the fire department, fire chief. Jeff has done a great job. You're gonna be happy with the results. I won't steal their thunder, but the results on the ambulances have been phenomenal.
Yep.
They're, again, I met with them privately. I won't steal their thunder, but you're gonna be happy with the results. So we do have to move to the larger account though, because of the money we're collecting on that particular issue. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
I move that we approve Article ATM 13-24, Fire Department Enterprise Fund Budget Appropriation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion is this is the vehicle for them to now use the account. We're adopting the statute, now we're creating the account, right, Mike? Okay.
This,
Yes, sir. Gary?
okay, so we've, where do we fund it then? This is for them to use it.
Yeah,
Comes
it's
from
gonna come from the proceeds.
The enterprise fund.
Yeah, it's gonna come from the collections,
Enterprise
right?
fund, okay, I see.
17, yeah.
Okay.
Right. It's coming from adopting the statute, and then we actually create the account. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Gary, you and I on that?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All
I
right.
move we approve ATM 13-18, Article 4, Fire Department ladder truck payment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mike, where is this? Tell me we're not taking this from the stab fund, right? Is this coming out of free cash at this point?
It's not, has not been determined yet at this point.
I would strongly suggest that we look at other than the stab fund for this, okay? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Someone else can make the motion for the next one, because I will not.
Yeah.
Going once, going twice.
I'd make the motion.
All right, here, I'll make it, and someone wants a second, we can discuss it.
All right.
Article ATM 13-25, local option meals excise. I'm sorry, I'm reading like Phil backwards now.
Hey, easy.
I moved to add ATM 13-25, local meals excise tax to the warrant.
Second. Okay, discussion? Again, this is for the townspeople to decide, as far as I'm concerned. They're paying it everywhere else, mostly in the surrounding communities, everywhere else they're going, they're paying it. Why not, our own town? We've got a lot of projects to fund, and a limited pool of money. Again, I understand the pros and cons, but for me, I don't think people mind paying this when they go to other communities. And there are a lot of outside activities that are coming here to Georgetown that we would collect on this, so that's my spiel on it. So, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would say I would like to get here eventually. I think we're also looking, or I have been looking and talking to others about potential property tax rebates for seniors based on how other towns have adopted it, which will, in essence, increase the debt burden to people that don't get the reduction. This could be a good balancing effect to that, not allocated specifically, just to the general fund. So I would like to see those taken on together, because I do think it gives a tax break potentially to seniors, and that could be offset by a meal tax from a lot of people who are out of town.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Is this part of? I think last year we talked about it funding Council on Aging.
No, we talked about possibly doing that, but then.
Then it was
to
going
actually
general
put- yeah,
fund.
we wanted
right?
to-
You can allocate it.
Right.
Do we have projections on what this might be on a given year?
Yes, we do.
When's the latest one? Yeah.
Last year, had we adopted it, we would have, DOR estimated we'd earn $44,000. This year, we would be scheduled for, last year was 56,000. The year before was 44,000. This year, we would be on schedule for 60,000.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
1 to 4. Okay.
I think that was the way it went last time. With
That's
me being the one
exactly.
yes and everyone else.
I move we approve ATM 13-19, Article 4, Other Post-Employment Benefits Trust Fund.
Okay. This is to set up the fund for the OPEB, right?
Sorry, second.
No,
Please, second.
Did we not do
Uh,
that
we-
last year?
We set it up last year. This is,
We gotta
this
fund
would
it.
Fund
be
it,
to
right,
fund
that's
it.
what I meant, yeah. Put some money, and even if
Yeah.
it's symbolic, if it's a small, and that'll help that'll help the whole actuary calculation.
It will,
Even if it's a dime in there, it'll help.
it will.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I don't know about a dime, but
Well, how much would we be looking
you-
to put in? We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Placeholder depends
I mean,
on where the
you know,
numbers.
To fully fund,
Yeah,
we
it's
need over
millions.
$1 million
Right.
every year.
Right.
But
don't forget the
No,
liability.
but what's
goes
our
on.
suggested number? We don't have it yet from FinCom.
Let's talk to FinCom about it.
Yeah,
See what we have in
okay.
free cash. I
How much snow is gonna snow
Yeah.
left?
Wow, that's.
I mean,
the
you know,
snow's eating into
if we could
that
put
one.
$25,000 in there as a symbolic start, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I'm
Maybe
with you.
maybe we can put some more in. All right, so we have a motion. You second, right, Steve?
Yep.
All right, motion is second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I move that we approve Article ATM 13-20 to read solicitation bylaw.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion second. I'll supply some color on this. I've met with police chief and Lieutenant Cudmore and the police chief. We want to come up with a bylaw that spells out what the requirements are to do solicitation in the town. That's selling of wares door to door. By right, constitutionality, it's allowed, and we can't stop it, but we can certainly make sure that we're doing background checks, we're getting an application, and there's and charging a fee involved in to offset that background check. I have received a lot of phone calls about people knocking on doors in the middle of supper, trying to sell this, whether it's magazines or it's Verizon, cable or whatever it is. And the statistics show that crime does go up after these solicitations are done, and these blanketed solicitations. So Lieutenant Cudmore is working on the language. We met earlier. Stu was actually there too. And is going to present us with, we've looked at other communities such as Marblehead, Weston, and Swampscott, right, Mike? Did I get those right? Yeah,
Yes.
those three, and going to come up with, trying to come up with the best practices in order to.
Marblehead, Swampscott, we're not anything like those towns. I'm just joshing. It's okay.
Anyway, so
Where are we?
we're on 13-20. Again, we'll get all the background on that.
Are we in discussion yet, or are we?
Yeah, we're in discussion. We have a motion in a
It being a
second.
bylaw change, wouldn't that go through planning?
No,
No,
only zoning
that's not a
bylaws.
zoning. It's-
Okay.
We're not creating a zone just for, and I know maybe where you're going with that is
Just asking.
marijuana law is,
Just,
we may have to, we have designated, zone, and that's coming.
I didn't want to be overstepping the bounds. I
Right,
thought
no.
the bylaws
Little
typically.
We have a procedure in place, but again, we want to get in the bylaw and tighten it up a little bit because there has been numerous complaints. Okay?
So
So-
we have time to, so we won't get the revote on it or anything once we see it, other than at town meeting then, correct?
We have to have a
We've got no
public
language
hearing.
here at all,
Yeah,
right?
we'd have a public
Yeah,
hearing.
we'll have a public hearing on the whole thing, so.
Okay.
All right, so all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I move we
unanimous.
approve Article ATM 13-21, dog licensing fees, town clerk.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is this an increase or is this?
No, it's $10.
No,
It's
is it?
an increase. The law changed that you can't charge the same for a intact dog as a neuter dog.
All right.
You have
Well,
to charge more.
I thought it was the same. I paid $10 for mine.
So it's a state mandate?
Now I've seen it all, I
that-
think. Seriously.
What you'd call it, Gary? Yep.
And they get most of the money anyway, from what we hear from the clerk.
Well,
What, the
on
state
dog
gets
licenses,
most?
we
Dog
keep
license,
that's
that goes out
local.
to the
That stays local.
We do
st-
keep
yeah,
that?
we keep it.
Okay.
Boy, this is discriminatory. All right.
All those in favor?
I've seen it all now, seriously.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
You and Nate, really?
Hey, state telling us you gotta do it.
Oh, there you go.
4-1. All right.
All right, Gary.
Okay, now we got the Community Preservation Committee article
CPC
here.
articles.
Chair, I move that we approve Article ATM 13-22, Community Preservation Committee.
General budget, right?
Okay.
Second. Well, hold on, that wasn't general budget, right? That was the whole article.
No, that's the whole
The whole
article.
thing? Oh. Yeah.
No, that's just that one.
Which is the general
Which is
budget.
general
That's the
budget.
general
General
budget,
budget, yeah. Okay.
ATM 13-22, you said, didn't you do A?
What? I'm sorry? A?
It's only listed as A.
A. Yeah, there is only an A.
That's all it is.
I think
Right,
that goes to
because-
what
well,
you're saying
then it's
later on
the-
is A, B, C, D,
Yeah,
E.
and those, CPC has not voted on
Yeah,
those
these
yet.
are just placeholders.
Yeah, those are just placeholders.
So, should we be even considering the CPC? When we know more information, we can go back and look at these? The general budget one we can do, I guess. but-
Yeah.
All right, so do we have a motion in a second?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We just did A, that's all, Gary, which is their general budget.
13.22.
And they're asking for an amendment.
Yeah, hold off on that until we get the language. Mike? We're gonna hold off on this one? This was about membership?
Yes.
Adding additional members?
Yes.
Okay. We'll hold
Chair.
off on that one until we get the language. All right. Next
Chair, I
one.
move that we approve Article ATM 13-29, Senior Citizens Property Tax Abatement.
Second.
I think this is well worth it. We definitely want to do this. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
One question.
Go.
Sorry. Overlay account. What are we? What's the difference? What's an overlay versus the?
It does increase the tax rate, right, Mike? A little bit, like half a cent or something, or?
Yeah, well, we raise $70,000 a year for the overlay account.
Oh, okay. Right.
I don't know if they could probably take it out of that 70,000.
We probably will.
It's up to the Board of Assessors, but we've just had it at 70,000 forever.
Yeah.
And they usually don't spend anywhere near the 70,000.
Okay. Thank you. That's all right.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, you're not saying this is a tax increase, this is an account that we have, and we're just asking the
Unless
townspeople
they
to-
It could be.
recommend that the overlay is increased. What they also can do is, if there is any, not overlay, but if there's any excess capacity or excess levy, they can, without anybody's approval, put it in the overlay account.
Who's they?
The Board of Assessors. And that does raise your taxes. It's a little known fact.
Yeah, we need to talk about the overlay account more.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, let's put this as a placeholder, right? So I move that we approve Article ATM 13-23, the synthetic turf field for the middle high school.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We heard the presentation. There was some things that they needed to shore up, but in this case, I mean, I'm going to support it. So, any discussion?
Well, if I may, shouldn't this be under the community preservation?
It is,
It is actually, isn't it?
right? Isn't this under
Oh, wait,
CPC?
wait, no, yeah,
This is
this
still
was,
part
a-
of CPC.
this was a placeholder, and we don't need this.
Okay. So,
I withdraw my motion.
Was it going under
Wait a second.
CPC? No.
It
It
well,
will, right? It
It'll
would be
be
like
added.
C
that's
or
the
whatever.
only way we talked
Right,
about
yeah.
happening.
Okay.
okay, so I'm just going to put the CPC. All right, well, we had a motion and a second. Do we want to vote it? How do we want to do that?
Just withdraw the motion,
Just
and
withdraw.
withdraw the second.
Okay,
We do that.
we did that, okay. All right, street acceptance for Abbey
I
Road.
move that we accept Article ATM 13-26, street acceptance, Abbey Road.
Second.
Okay, so we don't have the planner in to talk about these. Should we be waiting on him to come in and go over this, or has he already done this with us? I can't remember. Getting late.
No, they haven't. These are placeholders as well. He's working on the final.
Yeah, so I think we should wait on these, so why don't you guys, if you wouldn't, should we
I'd
just go with them?
Mr. Chair, I would suggest they're just placeholders. I think we put them on the warrant. I mean, they're road acceptances.
But we're gonna fill them in.
Yeah.
Aren't we gonna
Alright.
fill them in detail anyway?
Yes.
At town meeting.
All right, all those in favor?
Before.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Where's
Mr.
Abbey
Chair, I
Road?
move that we approve Article ATM 13-27, article for street acceptance Cedar Lane.
Second.
Okay, Cedar Lane Street acceptance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
See, no need for another meeting.
No, that's good. No, we got it done. All right, so,
Now check your emails.
I think, all right, I think we're all set. I would, yes, sir.
Actually, one more question for clarity.
Yeah.
Mr. Whatever was up there, you had said to him something about a title search. Does that mean you would like a title search done before you accept that? And also, in his statement, he said that the state requires a title search that hasn't been done yet. And if so, will that be a public record?
I would say it's probably gonna be public record. I can't say that you know, we've accepted this
I
agreement.
understand, but it's like the cart's before the horse. When you had said that they haven't done the title search yet, and you had mentioned to him you would like a title search.
So I asked
done.
him, did you do it? And he said, there, again, I can't answer the question because I'd have to have Jeff here to really ask him.
Right.
But to be honest, to be
Yeah,
fair to
well,
everybody.
You had stated after that he had said that you'd like to see the title search done, and he said there are
Well, make
several
sure that we
properties-
continue with all of these,
Right,
all of
so-
this stuff.
And then the issue would be with the power company with me if it says that the title search is done. So the
Right,
power
but he said,
company-
but I could swear he said they already did that, so.
No, he said there are several pieces of property he's working
Oh,
on.
the ones, right.
And he also
Right.
said that the state needs that before he can get funding from them, and it hasn't been done yet. And this is the issue I've been dealing with that committee since day one.
Yeah. All right, we'll,
They
we'll,
have the cart before the horse.
we'll stay on top of it. You're welcome.
Because I'm gonna want minutes of the, you know.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I don't blame you.
And you would, you know, mention that.
Yeah, we'll,
That's my only question as a concerned taxpayer.
all right.
you know? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes, sir. Did I
Um,
miss something?
Yep, Mike and Janet, will you just connect with Steve to get last year's template for the state of the town? Can you get that to them so they can hand it, get it out to all
I'll
the
send it out. I usually send it out.
whoever?
So I'll take care of it.
Okay, and just
Actually, I got your message. I've been looking for it. I found it finally. Because I moved computers. But I have it. I will send that out by tomorrow morning.
Actually, we discussed it at the last staff meeting. I told them they'd be using the same template.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
no one has said they couldn't find it yet.
Will you send them an email to confirm they've got it, and if they don't, let them know
I usually give them a
immediately?
blank one plus last year's as the example. And they're very good at getting it back to me.
Perfect. You got, all right, Steve, you can coordinate that, you got that. Thank you.
When's the
All right.
show?
Yeah, let's do that again. What day is that?
April 8th.
April
April 8th.
And
Is
I
that a
did
Monday?
send the Monday, regular meeting day.
Okay.
Okay.
I did put it on the web and send out to the newspapers the flyer.
Good. All right. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Did we get a second
No?
on that?
Aye.
We did. We got
Oh,
a second.
I
Yeah,
thought
somebody
we had a
seconded
second
it.
earlier.
Yes, we did.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night. It's a long night.